Honorable members, when the House suspended its business at 1 p.m., we were debating the resolution thanking the Governor General for his speech at the opening of Parliament. I presume we are now ready to continue. As many? The Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Golden Isles.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This afternoon I rise thankful to Almighty God Yahweh Elohim for touching the hearts of the people of the great constituency of Golden Isles to elect me again to represent them in this historic place. To my entire campaign team, office staff, donors, and everyone who contributed to our success, thank you. I wish to especially say a word of thanks to Mr. Leslie Potcake Miller, who joined us many times, as a matter of fact. And we were not exclusive to that. He joined many other teams. But I want to particularly thank him for his inspiration, for his commitment, for his dedication, and for his words of encouragement to me. So, Potcake, thank you. From the historic Adelaide Village and Adelaide Gardens to Dignity Gardens, from Coral Harbor to Excellence and Elegance Estates, Boatswain East and West to Bacardi Road and Venice Bay, the biggest constituency with the most registered voters, the great Golden Isles constituency, thank you for your overwhelming support. I will continue to be your voice maximized in and out of this place. I'm also thankful and mindful of my roots, where my navel string lies, in Greencastle, Eleuthera. To my mom, my aunts and uncles, other family members and relatives in Greencastle and Tarpon Bay, Windsor's Bight, Bannerman Town, and Waterford, thanks for depositing in me the values that have helped to mold me and make me the man that I am today. I'm standing on their shoulders and hope to make them proud and to please Almighty God. I've entered this historic place, as I've always said, as a free black man with my integrity intact. And when I would have made my last stand, I will leave as I came, a free black man with my integrity still intact. I'm guided by Psalm 26:1 that reads, "Judge me, O Lord, for I have walked in mine integrity. I have also trusted in the Lord. Therefore, I shall not slide." I'm thankful and grateful to Almighty God for his grace and for his favor. Just to speak with regards to what we're doing in our constituency, we held our first constituency town hall meeting, October 21st, in inclement weather, but it was a tremendous success. Thanks to the many constituents who attended. And our next meeting will be on Thursday, December 2nd, 7 p.m. On Saturday, the 20th of November, from 12 noon to 5 p.m., we will be hosting our community outreach on Bacardi Road Park. We will be distributing clothing and footwear, household items, plus there'll be free health screening for blood pressure, checking blood pressure, your glucose, and cholesterol levels. There will also be, of course, free food and drinks for constituents. And this is in preparation for the launch of our wellness series in January, early in the new year, where we will be focusing on financial health, physical health, and we'll be launching our Get Fit exercise program. And doing that will be on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, beginning at 6 p.m. each evening. Also coming before the Christmas is our Golden Isles Christmas tree competition. We'll be having it in 5 areas. In Adelaide Park, they'll be erecting a Christmas tree there. At the Coral Harbor Roundabout, we'll be erecting a Christmas tree there. The Bacardi Road Park, Dignity Gardens Park, and also in Excellence Estates. And the residents, the constituents from those areas will partake in the decorating of their trees. And we're thankful for First Lady Anne Marie Davis from the Office of the Spouse, who has graciously agreed to head our list of distinguished judges. And they've already started debating among themselves as to who will have the best decorated Christmas tree. I'm thankful to the Minister of Works, as the team from the Ministry of Works have visited the Dignity Gardens area, and they've assessed the needs there, with road paving, road signs, and also, after all these years, they do not have street signs yet, but before Christmas, by God's grace, we hope that they will have their street signage up. And thank you to the Minister of Works, the member for Fort Charlotte, and also the Department of Environmental Health Services. Some members of the vector control team went there also because there were complaints of rodents. And so they went, they assessed it, and they will be dealing with that also. And we say thank you to them. We have heard your complaints, and our office is working to make the change you desire come to fruition as quickly as possible. You can reach our office by calling 603-1757 or 603-0607. I repeat, 603-0607 or 603-1757. I'm thankful also in the Ministry of the Environment and Natural Resources, to the PS, to the directors, and to the entire staff. Thankful. They've been kind, they've been cooperative, very helpful, and I wish to say thank you to all of them. Permit me, Madam Speaker, to extend condolences to some families in the constituency, namely family of the late Cheryl Marie Barry, Coral Harbor, Keno Van Johnson, Somerset Estates, family of Audley Ashley Cooper of Carroll Manor, Frederica Scaval of Excellence Estates, of Walter Furrencoss of Bacardi Road, and other families in their time of bereavement in our constituency and throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. May heaven's perpetual light shine on them and their souls rest in peace. And now, Madam Speaker, I should like to begin by stating that my presentation will focus almost exclusively on the environment. Most people are aware of my passion for our natural resources. That certainly has not changed, and if it did, it has only intensified. I would like to say thank you to our Prime Minister, the member for Cat Island, San Salvador and Rum Key, and our Deputy Prime Minister, the member for Exuma, the Chain of Keys and Ragged Island, for not making an empty promise. Several years ago, they promised that if and when elected, that a new ministry would emerge by the name of the Ministry of Natural Resources, and as promised, as delivered. Promise made, promise kept. Our structure for the Ministry of Natural Resources is before the Cabinet, and it would be unwise and it would be premature. I think I've been in here long enough to learn a couple of things and to touch that at this time. So at the appropriate time, we will certainly speak to that in detail. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of the Environment and Natural Resources have an awesome task as we chart the course for the future of our country. First and foremost is the protection of the environment and the natural resources of our country for our sustainable use and that of future generations of Bahamians. I do not want to give any of you, my colleagues, any ideas, but I wish to tell you it's an exciting time to be the Minister of the Environment and Natural Resources. We are in uncharted waters on a number of crucial issues such as carbon credits, renewable and alternate energy, the management of land overlap areas within marine protected areas, the development of a natural resources department, and the list goes on. We will be developing policies that will guide our country for years into the future. The Ministry of the Environment and Natural Resources has in its portfolio the Department of Environmental Health Services, the Department of Environmental Planning and Protection, the Forestry Unit, the Bahamas National Geographical Information Systems Center, and the Botanical Gardens. The ministry and the departments are staffed with a high caliber of dedicated and competent public officers and contract officers, and is well equipped to meet the challenges that lie ahead. Madam Speaker, I am honored to be named as Minister of the Environment and the Natural Resources, especially as I believe that the world is at a turning point on issues such as climate change. You would all be aware that our Prime Minister, the Honorable Philip Brave Davis, is heading the delegation from the Bahamas to the 26th Conference to the Parties to the United Nations Conference, the Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP26, in Glasgow, Scotland. The Prime Minister has done us proud with his intervention at COP26, and reports even this morning indicated that his interview on Great Britain's leading show, Good Morning Britain, was highly successful. Madam Speaker, there's no doubt in my mind that this signals a more determined approach in our policy on climate change and signals a new day for the Bahamas. I wish to congratulate our Prime Minister on his powerful speech, and will just borrow a line or two as I quote. It says, "Every leader before us has postponed until tomorrow what needed to happen yesterday. And now tomorrow is here, today. And countries like mine are out of time." These are powerful words, and I'm sure upon his return, he will give a more detailed report of his trip and achievements. Madam Speaker, climate change is the greatest existential threat to humanity today. In the Bahamas, we have to live with the threat of rising temperatures and seas, coral reef bleaching, and the loss of associated marine resources. As the sea levels rise, there is a constant threat of damage to our coastlines and coastal infrastructure, and there is the human impact to all of these changes. Bahamians are right now having to adapt, carving out new niches in the economy, finding new and different places to live, to play, and work, and this pays a significant toll. There are some of us who are doing our part to reduce our carbon footprint by carpooling, conserving water and electricity, and buying local. We all have a role to play, and my ministry is no different. As the ministry with responsibility for climate change, we have been working assiduously to change the landscape in the Bahamas and to educate Bahamian communities about climate change and its impacts. We have been engaged with the Green Climate Fund to interact with local stakeholders in a meaningful way and develop a country program for the Bahamas that will guide the next steps we take to address climate change within our borders. We are aware that in many instances, hope and help never reach the most vulnerable. We will work to ensure that the international resources received have local impacts. Ongoing activities include a project to identify appropriate climate technologies for the energy sector, the development and implementation of a measuring, reporting, and verification system, and the accreditation of the Bahamas Development Bank as a direct access entity to the GCF in the Bahamas. Having a national bank with direct access to international climate financing translates into increased access to Bahamians and Bahamian businesses. We are also delivering on a storm surge model for 2 of our islands. This work will be expanded as a part of our national adaptation plan to cover additional islands. This is also crucial work, as understanding the changing dynamics of our coastal system will better help us to plan for the future. The COVID-19 pandemic has stressed the need for a healthcare system that is responsive, adaptive, and efficient to meet the needs of a modern Bahamian society. My ministry is working with the Ministry of Health and Wellness to enhance our capacity to address the impacts of climate change on the healthcare sector by strengthening the capacity of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, public and private healthcare providers, communities, and the general population to plan, coordinate responses, develop, and implement projects for the improvement of the public health care and healthcare system. This will assist them as they develop the Health National Adaptation Plan. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of the Environment and Natural Resources is drafting a national adaptation plan to climate change and updating our nationally determined contribution to the United Nations on climate change. The NAP, upon approval of the GCF and the Cabinet, that's the National Adaptation Plan and the Green Climate Fund, will position us to increase our resilience to climate change by building capacities and catalyzing climate finance to address high-priority climate impacts and vulnerabilities. We will adopt proactive actions to make our national infrastructure and society more resilient to future climate changes. My ministry is updating our nationally determined contribution to the United Nations on climate change and strengthening our commitment to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. We are working with stakeholders to set realistic, achievable targets and to set a course of action and financing to meet these targets within the next 5 years. As we move forward, the government will help develop a system for trading carbon credits and carbon offsets. The Bahamas is a party to both the Kyoto Protocol of '97 and the Paris Agreement of 2015, which are international accords that lay out international carbon dioxide emissions goals. They have given rise to national emissions targets and the regulations to back them. The Bahamas has lagged behind other countries in developing emission control legislation. Even though the Bahamas is not a big contributor to carbon dioxide emissions, I hope to be able to move forward with this legislation. It was attempted in the past and they failed. I hope by the grace of God, when we attempt it, our people will be more understanding and acceptable to the necessity of this change. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of the Environment and Natural Resources will be working to develop a system for selling carbon credits to interested companies. Carbon credits and carbon offsets from both marine and terrestrial carbon sinks can be bought and sold on a carbon market. The number of credits issued each year is based on emissions targets set by regulators. This program offers a number of interesting opportunities in the Bahamas, including from planting more trees to renewable energy. Times are changing. Madam Speaker, carbon dioxide and methane are the most commonly produced greenhouse gases. Carbon sequestration is the process of capturing and storing atmospheric carbon dioxide. It is one method of reducing the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere with the goal of reducing global climate change. The absorption takes place through forests, mangroves, coppice, and other biomass. These are marine sinks, our ocean, corals, and aquatic plants like seaweeds and grass. There are financial opportunities from which the Bahamas can benefit from the carbon sequestration that is taking place with our natural resources and the global carbon market. According to McKinsey & Company in its October 28, 2021 report, putting carbon markets to work on the path to net zero, the total value of global carbon markets grew by over 20% in 2020, the fourth consecutive year of record growth. The primary marketplaces are compliance carbon markets, or CCMS. This is the voluntary carbon markets, or VCMS. This is where companies and individuals trade carbon credits on a voluntary basis. CCMS, or compliance carbon markets, are the more mature and larger of the two markets, with a value of more than $100 billion and an annual trading turnover of more than $250 billion. A March 2021 analysis performed by Oxyzen, a Switzerland carbon trading platform, estimated that Andros can gross an annual revenue of over $50 million from its terrestrial sink. When considering the rest of our marine, our forests, and wetlands, our natural resources are valuable revenue sources. I've always been of the view that our new streams of revenue will emerge from our natural resources. Madam Speaker, the majority of our greenhouse gas emissions are associated with the energy sector. In 2013, under the previous Progressive Liberal Party's administration, the National Energy Policy was drafted to chart a course for the next 30 years of energy transformation in the Bahamas. Madam Speaker, in this term, my ministry will continue the legacy of this policy. The foundation has been laid for small and medium-sized renewable energy installations through the Small-Scale Renewable Energy Generation Program, and we encourage as many Bahamians and residents that are able to retrofit your home or small business with renewable energy systems. Duty concessions are available to you. You will not only reap the financial and environmental benefits, but future generations of Bahamians will salute you for doing your part. Until now, the only utility-scale installations have been government-owned. My ministry will work with the Bahamas Power and Light Company, the Utilities Regulation, and the Competition Authority to draft regulation to accommodate utility-scale installations that will allow larger businesses to fully participate in the transformation that is happening now. Currently, at the office of the Prime Minister, a 500 kilowatt solar parking lot is under construction. This installation is a part of a plan to retrofit as many government buildings with renewable energy as possible. Once completed, the work will continue to other government buildings. The Ministry of Education and the Bahamas Customs buildings have been identified as suitable candidates for solar installation. Further, several government schools have been identified as suitable options for solar installation and energy-efficient retrofits, namely the Doris Johnson High School and C.V. Bethel High School. Madam Speaker, this program, though oftentimes things are Nassau-centric or New Providence-centric, that's not the case. It's not limited to New Providence. We have not branched out as far as we'd like to yet, but we are presently working with the Rocky Mountain Institute and Rotary Bahamas to install almost 80 kilowatts of solar with integrated battery storage on 3 schools in Abaco. The Central Abaco Primary School will have the largest of the installations, will serve as a hurricane shelter. At the completion of the work, the school will be even better equipped to serve the citizens and residents of Abaco. And we hope we never see a Dorian in the Bahamas again. But in light of these climate changes, they are saying that superstorms are the norm. Madam Speaker, the second greatest user of energy, in particular gasoline and diesel oil, and greenhouse gas emitters, is the transport sector. It is characterized in the Bahamas by the use not only of private vehicles and public buses, but also and significantly by the use of boats, planes, and helicopters required for inter-island travel. We will take steps to discourage the importation of inefficient motor vehicles, to encourage the development and implementation of efficient traffic management, carpooling, park and ride, the use of clean fuels to minimize pollution, flexi work hours and telecommuting, an efficient public transport system, encouraging non-motorized transport, and promoting vehicle and road maintenance programs. In addition to this, we will support legislation and infrastructure for the use of biofuels. Madam Speaker, navigating our waters consistently are military ships, research ships, cruise ships, sport fishing yachts, mega yachts, container ships, oil tankers, and other types of ships and watercrafts. And Madam Speaker, none of them, no, not one, pay an environmental tax. That must change. Madam Speaker, as the Minister with responsibility for our natural resources, we must begin to reimagine the possibilities that our coastal ecosystems are some of the most productive, yet the most fragile on Earth. They provide us with essential ecosystem services like storm protection, food, recreation, and ensure our livelihoods. They also provide an integral service, storing blue carbon from the atmosphere, and are a critical piece of the solution to global climate change. In this term, Madam Speaker, my ministry will focus heavily on coastal ecosystems like mangroves, tidal marshes, and seagrasses, in addition to coral reefs, to protect them and help them adapt successfully to the changes in our environment. These natural resources are being lost at alarming rates in our waters, but they have the potential to store up to 10% of carbon buried in the ocean annually. Public-private partnerships will be key to the success of these endeavors. Madam Speaker, we also look forward to further engagement with civil society and interested members of the general public. My ministry's success is a shared success, and we look forward to meaningful engagement with the Bahamian public. We will be proactive. I see my time is telling me goodbye. We will be proactive. We will be innovative. We will be aggressive. We will be very visible, and we will be very vocal. Madam Speaker.
Honourable Member.
I thank you. May Almighty God continue to bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and make the wealth of all.
Thank you, Honourable Member Asmani. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for East Grand Bahama.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, first of all, I give glory and praise and thanks to Almighty God for His grace and mercy in allowing me the privilege. And Madam Speaker, it is a privilege to stand in this honorable chamber once again. While we hoped for a different outcome, I give God thanks because there is purpose in every season. I wish to thank my family, my beautiful wife Tammy, and my 4 beautiful daughters, including my eldest daughter, Jaden, who voted for her father as a first-time voter, which, Madam Speaker, was one of my proudest moments. I want to thank and recognize my team in East Grand Bahama. Absolutely. If it's one thing I'm sure about, if it's one thing I'm sure about, Madam Speaker, I want to thank my team in East Grand Bahama. It is because of their hard work and their dedication that I am here today. And then I have to mention and thank the wonderful people of East Grand Bahama. From Sweetens Key to Water Key, the good people in McLeanstown and High Rock and Pelican Point and Rocky Creek, Gambia Point and Freetown, and to all of my over-the-bridge residents, including my colleagues here who are good constituents.
I voted for you.
And they told me they voted for me too. vote for me. Madam President, Madam Speaker, to all of the residents in Lincoln Green and Chesapeake and Arden Forest and Seahorse Village, Fortune Bay and Fortune Point, and all the way to Coral Gardens and the Ridge. You know, it has been my honor going into the houses of these residents and spending time with them. And I'm sure that everyone in here can identify with what I'm saying, that the wonderful part about being a politician in the Bahamas is not really about coming into the chamber, which is an important part. It's not really about the position that we may hold, which again is an important part. But it is really about those residents and spending time and listening and learning and connecting with those residents that we represent. That really is the heart of what we do here today. But Madam President, we are now in this place in a different role, because we are now in this place to continue to fight on behalf of our constituents. I want to also congratulate all the members of this chamber on their victory and on the speeches that they presented during this important debate. I also want to congratulate you, Madam Speaker, on your election to being the second female speaker. It is a very important role. It is not easy to step forward and put oneself into frontline politics. The former Governor General Sir Arthur Folkes put it this way: there is nothing intrinsically wrong with politics. He said, on the contrary, apart from the sacred ministry, I can think of no more noble way to serve humanity than through the practice of democratic politics. Politics is, Madam Speaker, not about power, but it is about service. And so I especially congratulate my Free National Movement colleagues. And Madam President, they are, and it has been referred to already, but they are, and we call ourselves, the Magnificent Seven. Madam Speaker, I am also proud to be an FNM member of Parliament. I'm proud of the work and legacy of the Free National Movement. We recently celebrated 50 years as an organization and almost 20 years governing this country. We are forever etched into the history of this country. Madam Speaker, the government is accountable to Parliament. Our system calls for dissent and robust discussion. We will not always agree. The government will ultimately have its way. But in this place, we on this side must have our say. The opposition's voice is a critical part of a healthy democracy. I was therefore somewhat surprised that one of our members, and I'm going to adjust this a little bit because of what just took place with the member for Golden Isles, but I was a little bit surprised that one of our members who had requested additional 3 minutes was denied the time. and a member of the governing side who did not request the time was allowed to proceed. All of us must receive equal treatment under the rules of the House, and it is our duty and our responsibility to speak if this does not occur. We cannot and will not remain silent, because we speak not for ourselves, but for and on behalf of the people who sent us here. It is a solemn and a serious responsibility. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank the Governor General for His Excellency Cornelius Alvin Smith for his eloquent reading of the speech from the throne. He and I have a special bond, as I served as the Member of Parliament for Pine Ridge from 2007 to 2012, a seat that he held for several years. Madam Speaker, we heard many things in the speech from the throne, quite frankly, many of which were either in process or on the agenda of the Free National Movement. In fact, a lot of what has been touted. I heard the member for Golden Isles just a few minutes ago speak about the renewable energy projects. But a lot of what has been touted and applauded are as a result of the policies and the work of the Free National Movement. Madam Speaker, I listened intently to the Minister of Tourism, the Deputy Prime Minister, who spoke eloquently of all of the achievements and awards in tourism, which were directly as a result of Dionisio de Aguilera and the FNM. As I recall, we welcomed a record-breaking 7 million passengers in 2019. Tourism did not just turn around a month ago, but tourism was already dramatically improving. I simply say, build on the accomplishments. Madam Speaker, in our economy, after having been dealt the twin blows of Hurricane Dorian and the pandemic, yes, it is true our economy contracted, but it is also true that the PLP met an already recovering economy. The central bank, in their quarterly report, has confirmed, and I quote, preliminary indications are that the domestic economy stabilized during the second quarter of 2021. Despite the ongoing spread of the coronavirus pandemic, tourism output continues to gradually improve, supported by an ongoing strengthening in the high-value air segment and the modest resumption in the sea passengers, attributed to the widespread vaccination efforts, end quote. The government touts the fact that there is a 90 million revenue gain over projections, all because of the work done by the FNM administration. Madam Speaker, also I congratulate this government for grabbing a great headline on the $1 billion and the pre-election report. It was a wonderful headline. In my view, it was completely wrong and inappropriate to make such an allegation in this place without providing the report that provides the evidence of such a claim. Madam Speaker, the law under the Fiscal Responsibility Act is very clear on what is to be included in the pre-election report. I am advised that the law does not require the disclosure of every liability. The pre-election report.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Exuma and Ragged Island.
Mr. Speaker, the member generally believes what he said. But I would invite the member to acquaint himself with this piece of legislation passed by the previous administration. The purpose of the legislation was to paint a picture out of line as to what the current state of the fiscal affairs of the country is before going into an election. It is disingenuous, Madam Speaker, for this member who was the Minister of State for Finance to come here and talk about the Fiscal Responsibility Act when they completely ignored the requirements of this act. Yes. The Fiscal Responsibility Council perhaps was never formed, or there was never an enabling framework for it, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the reports required under the Fiscal Responsibility Act were never ever laid on this House, despite the fact that this member, who happened to have been Shadow Minister of Finance, complained about it over and over and over. He's got some nerve now to come here to talk about the Fiscal Responsibility Act when they completely ignored it. He was the Minister of State for Finance. They never reported, and now he is misleading this House, Madam Speaker. So if he wishes to speak about the Fiscal Responsibility Act,
Honourable member,
he should come clean.
The member has the floor.
He should present those historic reports that they never presented.
The member has the floor.
Do I have the floor, Madam Speaker?
Take your seat, man.
One person will have to.
No, he's point of order. No, it's for yes.
The chair will recognize Exuma and Ragged, the honourable member for Exuma and Ragged Island.
So he must ask for repentance for completely violating this piece of legislation. The member who was not in this House at the time, who sat in the cabinet, he stood there, he sat there.
You will speak, honourable member.
Madam Speaker, he sat there as a part of a cabinet and watched his colleagues completely break the law.
You will get your time.
Madam Speaker,
Give me a minute.
as a member of the cabinet, he was complicit in breaking the law. So to come here today is very offensive.
Madam Speaker, my privilege has thus been breached because the member on his feet has indicated that a member in this place has breached the law.
I said it before, I'll say it again.
So, Madam Speaker, please protect me.
You are protected.
And I ask him to withdraw that I breached the law or provide the evidence that this member breached any law.
I will do so, Madam Speaker.
Yes, I asked you to produce.
Madam Speaker, you asked me to.
Produce.
That this member,
But, Madam Speaker,
Yes.
what I said was that this member, as a part of the cabinet, was complicit in breaking the law. Because, Madam Speaker,
Honourable member, let him make his point, and then I will.
because, Madam Speaker,
Honourable member,
the law required that the government present to this House a fiscal report from the Fiscal Responsibility Council, I believe at the end of March and the end of November. I reminded them over and over and over. If he is not aware, he should ask the man who was the member who was the Minister of Finance. I said it over and over. I say it again. I will not withdraw it. All the member must do is go and acquaint himself with the act. An act passed by them, Madam Speaker.
And the report was never laid.
Madam Speaker.
Honourable member, for example, the report was never laid.
It was never laid.
Madam Speaker.
Not once.
Madam Speaker, please. This member said that this member, he didn't say the cabinet. He said this member. No, he said this member broke the law. And I am saying, Madam Speaker, that he must withdraw that this member broke the law or provide the evidence. Don't hide behind the cabinet. But he said this member broke the law. I heard him very clearly, and that is the point when I stood. I heard him say that the cabinet did what the cabinet did. But he said this member, and Madam Speaker, to say that any member of Parliament in his own capacity, in his personal capacity or professional capacity, broke the law, it is a very serious allegation.
It is.
And Madam Speaker,
It is.
he must withdraw that this member did it.
Yes, hold on.
Speaker,
The chair
what I said
recognizes
was,
the member.
what I said was that this member was a member of the cabinet, and he was complicit, Madam Speaker. I will not withdraw it. If I said that he in his personal capacity broke the law, right, I would withdraw that, Madam Speaker. But let me finish, man.
Hold on. Let me
finish.
get the full understanding.
Let me finish so I can repeat myself so it's clear. As a member of the cabinet, he never resigned from the cabinet, and I've said over and over again that they ought to have presented the report more than once. They never did. It's a requirement. The act says you shall present the report. It didn't say maybe if you wake up on the right side of the bed. It said you shall. Your cabinet that you sat as a part of, your Minister of Finance, who ought to have presented the report, did not present the report. You were the Minister of State. You did nothing, and you did not resign from the cabinet. So you are complicit, if that's what you wish for me to say.
The chair recognizes the member for comment.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I've listened to the arguments back and forth. I would only ask the member to acquaint himself with the third schedule of the Act, and he would see that we had followed the law to the T.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The chair recognizes the Honourable Member. I don't
recognize, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, am I right?
We're clearing.
Allow me to continue.
Honourable Member for East Granby-Hammer, it's not all about you. It's about our people. The public is watching. So we have to clear. Can I speak?
Yes, ma'am.
We have to clear the air. Okay? So I'd ask you to sit down, as the member is now clarifying for me and all present, including the public. I don't want you to say I would have let that happen to you without that being clarified. Let it be clarified. That's all I'm asking. And I don't think I'm asking much.
No.
Okay?
Can I ask the chair, because I would like for this point to be...
And you will have your opportunity. I will not deny that.
I accept it. Can I ask, though, Madam Speaker, because this is the point that I'd like clarified. He spoke about cabinet, and the cabinet, and we will be prepared to defend ourselves in terms of the cabinet. But it is a very serious point to say that this member. So I must protect that. And if he is saying that he is not making an allegation against me, I will. Then we can move on.
I said that.
Then we can move on. We can move on.
The chair is recognizing the Honourable Member for example. Let us please.
Am I recognized?
You are recognized,
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, just let it be.
I've explained that before. I do not wish to continue down that rabbit hole. I've explained collective responsibility. Member sat in the cabinet. He's fully aware how this works. The member for Kalani made reference to the third schedule of the Act. The Act clearly says, Madam Speaker, that the administration shall provide the report of the Fiscal Responsibility Council and lay it on the table of the House at a specific time, at least twice a year. That's what the Act says. And that is what I'm referring to. And that never happened. So if the member is saying that the report was tabled, and he can demonstrate that, Madam Speaker, then I would withdraw. But I stand by my point. I have said this more than once in this Parliament. I will not withdraw it. It is absolutely fact. I'm very much familiar with the Fiscal Responsibility Act. I stand by my statement, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the member for East Granville.
Madam Speaker, we are talking about two different issues here. Because I started off by speaking about the pre-election report. And he stood in reference to the pre-election report. Madam Speaker, with respect to the Fiscal Responsibility Council, the Fiscal Responsibility Council reported. The Fiscal Responsibility Council's report was placed on the website of the government. And, Madam Speaker, there was an election that took place. The House did not meet when the Fiscal Responsibility Council reported. So, Madam Speaker, if I could continue.
You may.
I am advised that the law does not require the disclosure of every liability. And again, we are speaking about the pre-election report. The pre-election report requires the government to list the arrears. The arrears represent the matters that have been invoiced. This is stated quite clearly in the pre-election report itself. So, Madam Speaker, there is a popular song. There's a popular song out there that says, you get swing. We are hearing the voices of the public loud and clear, Madam Speaker, on the great VAT reduction promise. And people have been playing that song, You Get Swing. Madam Speaker, the PLP shouted loud and clear about increasing VAT, and none, I believe, voted against the removal of VAT from breadbasket items. There is no easy way.
The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Exuma Rankin.
Because the vote hasn't come. This debate is next week. He's now asking about voting on the removal of breadbasket item, and we haven't voted on it. He's misleading, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Member.
Exactly what he said.
I will say it again. I will say it again to be clear. I believe none voted against the removal from VAT on breadbasket items, which was done in 2018. There is no easy way to say. This can't be glossed over or explained away. The government has increased or plans to increase the cost of bread. They plan to increase the cost of baby food. They plan to increase the cost of grits and milk. You will make it more expensive for children and the elderly to buy medication, including prescription medication and most over-the-counter drugs. But this is a new day. It's just not the one that people were looking for. On a more hopeful position, Madam Speaker, on a more hopeful note, the speech from the throne did mention the continuation of the digitization project. I am also hopeful by the appointment and the statement that was made by I believe it was the member for Centerville, and would welcome an opportunity to meet and discuss the government's digital transformation project. I'm extremely pleased by the legacy and our legacy in the digital transformation. We implemented the first ever e-cabinet platform, which was mentioned by the Minister of Works and the member for Fort Charlotte. We created the interoperable platform called the Great Bahama Bank, which was modeled after Estonia. We created the My Gateway platform that now has over 43 Bahamian customers. We provided online services for e-passport, driver's license, driver's registration, marriage certificate, and birth certificates. We worked with the ITU to develop the National Cybersecurity Incident Response Team and also engaged a national CERT manager. And this was also mentioned by the member for Centerville. We started the process for an electronic identification system. We also developed the draft legislation that created an IT ministry for e-government. And I hope that this government continues to press forward with that legislation. We were overseeing the implementation of the central bank's sand dollar. And Madam President, this is something I believe that we all, as Bahamians, can be proud of, because it is truly a world-leading initiative. And I pray and hope that this government also picks up that mantle and continues to push the implementation of the sand dollar. Madam Speaker, we passed the Digital Assets and Registration Exchanges Bill in 2020 and have seen the fruits where one of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchanges have now come to the Bahamas. We didn't get invited to the opening, but that's okay. They said, and this is what the company said, they said the proactive stance taken by the government and its regulatory bodies on cryptocurrency was one of the primary reasons for their move to the Bahamas from Hong Kong. So I ask this government not to squander the opportunity to make us a fully digital Bahamas. Madam Speaker, I am also eternally grateful to the wonderful people of East Grand Bahama. I'm also a proud resident of East Grand Bahama. I do, though, want to thank both ministers for works and also the minister responsible for disaster and reconstruction for their invitations to join them when they toured East Grand Bahama. It was a courtesy, and I say thank you for extending that courtesy. Madam Speaker, as the opposition, oh, she was there as well, absolutely. Yes, no, I will absolutely say thank you. She accommodated, but I only say that because the invitation was an invitation that was extended by those ministers. That's why I say that. But I make I give no disrespect at all to the member for Pine Ridge, who I know quite well, and who is a former warrior like myself.
Oh, yes, warrior for life. Warrior for life.
A former warrior like myself.
Warrior for life.
Madam Speaker, our role as opposition has changed. We are not the government, but we are now advocates for the people and advocates for our constituents. So, Madam Speaker, you know, I can recall, and I don't believe any of them are in the chamber, but I can recall hearing so many times when I was in the other place from the Minister for Health, the present Minister for Health, and the present Minister for Housing. You know, they had a saying, no excuses, fix it. And they would say, you the government now, fix it. And I remember the saying, fix Grand Bahama, fix Grand Bahama. And they were saying, in essence, they at that time were the former government, because he was a former minister. The responsibility has now been transferred onto you. And don't give any excuses. Fix it. Fix it. And that's all we used to hear, Madam Speaker. And I suspect that you can hear that quite a bit in this place. So, Madam Speaker, we still need the school in East Grand Bahama. So we need you to fix it. We still need the seawall in High Rock. So we need you to fix it. We still need the dock and the government buildings in Sweden Ski. We need you to fix it. We need the cemetery expansion in High Rock. We need you to fix it. There are still many people who have been approved for home repairs by the DRA, and I have spoken to, and I say in fairness, I have spoken to the minister, and the minister has said that he is going to address it, and so I am supporting you in your commitment to fix it. And I'm requesting, when the government does their assessment, to give a timeline in terms of when they will resume the continuation of those repair and that repair program. And also the dock in Waterkey. We will, and I say this very, very seriously, Madam Speaker. I say this very, very seriously. We will work with the government to achieve these goals, because it is important for all of our constituents that this work is done. It is not enough for us just to stand up and say, fix it. But it is also incumbent upon us to do what we can to assist in ensuring that it actually gets done. And that's a commitment that I believe all of us on this side would make. But, Madam Speaker, our people have very little patience for a honeymoon period. They want action, and they want relief, and they want it now. So the government must act, and they must act now. As I close, Madam Speaker, we on this side shall act without fear or favor to carry out our duties in the interest of all Bahamians. We remain firm in representing the people by ensuring that their interests come above partisan politics. And, Madam Speaker, we are all fortunate to live in this Bahamas. As it was said earlier today, and I wholeheartedly agree, we live in one of the best countries in the world. Correction. We live in the best country in the world. It is a great country. And we all love this country. And we all want the best for its people. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that everyone who has stepped in this chamber and everyone who has walked past that bar loves this country and wants the best for this country. So, Madam Speaker, we will do our part in the best interests of the people. And so, Madam Speaker, thank you for your time. And I also want to say thank you to the good people, the wonderful people of East Grand Bahama. May God continue to bless them, and may God continue to bless the Bahamas. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes the member for Exuma and Ragged Island.
Madam Speaker, in an earlier exchange, I made reference to elements of the Fiscal Responsibility Act that was not complied with. May I now draw reference, Madam Speaker, to Section 23, A, B, C, and D. All of those segments begin by the Council shall submit to Parliament. And there are various dates. None of those dates were complied with. Further, Madam Speaker, the reference to the pre-election report, I also recall some exchange in relation to the dates with respect to when that report was due. That report also missed the deadline, Madam Speaker. And whilst we debated it in the public domain and, election was coming, so the members on the other side made certain pronouncements which were not entirely accurate, or not accurate at all, Madam Speaker, in relation to the date. I make reference to the Section 23. I ask the members to read it for themselves. It's in very simple, clear language. And members of this place can determine whether the government at that day, broke the law or not, Madam Speaker. I will leave it as that. If the member can demonstrate that these reports were laid, I will withdraw it. But in the meantime, I maintain that they were never laid or submitted to this Parliament, and there were at least 4 occasions on which it ought to happen, and it never did. And it was not optional, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for East Grand-Bahama.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wonder if the member would allow me to take a look at what he was referring to, because if I recall what he said correctly, the Council had the responsibility of providing the document to Parliament. So, but I just want to be clear what you read, because you read, it was, no, I'm not. And I wish you would not either. But you indicated, and you just read the act, which said it was the Council that had the obligation to bring it here.
The Chair recognizes
the Fiscal Responsibility Council, appointed by the government, had an obligation to submit the report to Parliament. The obligation rests with who is responsible for bringing it and submitting it to Parliament. It's very clear. And that couldn't be people who not sit in Parliament, Madam Speaker. It had to be members and ministers of the government who were required, shall submit it to Parliament. So for this member who know better to sit here and blame private citizens, good professionals of our country, who volunteer their time to sit on the Fiscal Responsibility Council, he sits there and he blames
Let him finish, and then I'll
the good professionals in the financial service community who volunteered their time. And he said, oh, they ought to run the Parliament. This is incredible, Madam Speaker.
The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for East Grand-Bahama.
The member is, and Madam Speaker, you made a comment the other day about being dramatic, and Madam Speaker, I think this member is taking that.
I think my word was to
the extreme. Madam Speaker, I in no way gave any disrespect to any of the professionals. Madam Speaker, he read the document. And the document said, and he could tell me if I'm wrong, but he read the document, and the document said that the Council would have submitted it to Parliament. But Madam Speaker, if the Council did not submit the document, to the government, in order for the government to submit it to Parliament, then, Madam Speaker, again, he is absolutely wrong in terms of accusing the government for breaking the law. So, Madam Speaker, please, he should withdraw again the point about breaking the law.
So
Because
simply,
that did not occur. If the council did not submit the document and the response, and the council also, again, it speaks to the council providing the document to Parliament. Now, if your point is, Madam Speaker, through you, if your point is that it must now be provided to the government in order for the government to present it, it was not presented to the government during that time. Once it was presented to the government, it was put on the government's website and made public. Because we had not gotten here. We had not gotten here, Madam Speaker.
the chair
Let's get the whole
recognizes the
story.
honourable member.
Let us tell the whole story.
Madam Speaker, I won't belabor this any longer.
Because he's wrong.
I won't belabor this any longer, Madam Speaker. I would simply invite the members of this House and the public to refer to the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2018, Section 23. I rest, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honourable member. Asmini. The chair recognizes the honourable member for West Grand Bahama and Bimini.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's been a wonderful debate thus far.
It has.
And I have been enthralled by the incredible presentations by the new core of leaders of our country. They have represented well, and the nation will be justly proud. Madam Speaker, we had sought to come to this place in a new day and present our arguments with substance to focus on the future. We are not here to stare in the rearview mirror, to look backward. We do not wish to engage in petty dialogue. We've seen one or two members seek to do that, and we believe that it is not what the Bahamian people are asking for. The Bahamian people are asking for legislators who are going to be focused, legislators who intend to move the country forward, legislators who have a plan and a vision for their nation. They do not wish to be and lose interest in what is being discussed because some members decide that they would seek to score petty political points. It does not work, Madam Speaker, and notwithstanding all that was tried, it is still proven that the Bahamian people want a new day. And that is why the government of yesterday lost on September 16th. And there is a new day government in place that intends to proceed. And we will, Madam Speaker, focused and determined to make this Bahamas the great nation that it must be. Madam Speaker, my return to this House has been a journey that I've enjoyed, a journey that caused me to have a greater appreciation for people, for supporters, for individuals who I might have taken for granted one time or the other. I remember vividly the voices of men like Artis Neely, Hilton Boleg, Curly Ramming, women and men who sound their voices in support of giving me a second opportunity, who were appreciative of the work done during my first 3 terms in this House and wanted me to return to continue the work. Madam Speaker, I can never forget their contribution. I can never forget what they did and how they proceeded over a 2-year period to ensure that the opportunity was given again. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank the honorable leader of our party and Prime Minister for affording me this opportunity to return to the Parliament and now to sit in his government. The course to election is never easy. It is very difficult. The campaign is never easy. It is very difficult. I pray God that we arrive at the point in this country where substance becomes the issues of the day, not where we're spending time, attacking individuals, looking for and agreeing to character assassinate. Madam Speaker, I do not believe in it. I believe we're shortchanging the Bahamian people when we do that, because we wish to create emotional behavior. We do not wish to have discussions on the substantive issues that affect their lives. That is why, Madam Speaker, I am determined to see that we introduce debates in our country. Debates that are going to be properly done, that are going to be led by the media of our country through legislation to ensure that we are discussing issues that the Bahamian people are most interested in. Madam Speaker, allow me to thank my team that helped me to win this seat. Allow me to thank the team of West End and Bimini, led by a great man named Lloyd Grant. Lloyd Grant, you might know him. We call him Chubby. He's the lead singer with the Cooling Waters. But he was able to sing a song for my campaign team. And together, we collectively put our forces together, and we won. And we were able now to return to this place and to represent the people. I wish to thank him and his lovely wife. I wish to thank Jeff Johnson and his team. I wish to thank Deidre and her team, Tanya and her team, Derek and his team. I wish to thank Paco and his team. I wish to thank a young man who came and joined my campaign, Jolita. And he made a difference in the campaign for me. That is his name that we refer to him as, not the notorious one. I wish to thank Shine, another one of the men of the communities that got together and ensured that I won. Bozo and Vida, and all those individuals who made a difference in my campaign, Madam Speaker. I can't forget them. I can't forget what Tom Stubbs did. I can't forget how he decided to come and be with me every single day, wherever I went, to ensure that I could win. Kirk Dealey, and men who made a difference in my campaign. Tad Martin, I can never forget him. And of course, the many women who joined my campaign. But also, Madam Speaker, many left us. Many left us along the way. Dolly Stewart passed away. It really hurt me. Ernest Umbrista, a man who was blind, but he saw more than any of us could ever see. And he fought diligently. And then last week, I had to attend the funeral of a mother and her daughter, Jackie Rowe, and her daughter, Glenda Outen. Glenda was disabled, but she was at every single political event that I held over the last 20 plus years. An incredible young lady, and her mother carried her everywhere she went. They were so dedicated, wonderful human beings committed to the philosophy of this great progressive Liberal Party. And Madam Speaker, I wish to thank everyone. I wish to thank Marion Stubbs and Bimini, and that Bimini crew that made a difference, because I was told that we couldn't win Bimini. That's right. But we won Bimini, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I'm still celebrating. I'm celebrating people. I'm celebrating the fact that what they did for me, I'll never forget. And because of that, Madam Speaker, I'm so dedicated to my service, even more so than ever before, because we're going to make a difference in that constituency. We're going to continue the work we started, Madam Speaker. You've known and heard of the wonderful work in Bimini, the wonderful things that's happened in Bimini, but we have some things to finish. We have some work still to do. We do have a wonderful hotel. We do have a wonderful community development in Bimini, a wonderful airport, some expansion taking place right now, but there's a difficulty because the previous administration started an expansion to the runway, and now there's a problem because you cannot land on the runway. Some aircraft cannot land because the wrong material was used, and so there's a problem. I've spoken to the minister responsible for aviation, and obviously we now have to look at how best to cause that to be repaired. But Madam Speaker, we're working on it because we're going to fix it. We're not going to do what you did. We left you with some things to fix, and you didn't fix it. You didn't fix the hotel, which you said you were going to fix. I know that you didn't mention that in your speech. I know that you didn't say a thing about the hotel. You talked about everything else, but you didn't talk about the hotel. But we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it because why? The Bahamian people need it to be fixed. Our job is not sitting down every day looking at petty things. We're not going to say you didn't do some good things. Of course you did. Of course you made some good efforts. But the Bahamian people were dissatisfied. So they voted you out. They said you are not doing enough for what we want. And we presented a program, a plan of action that they supported. And our plan is a plan that they want for this new day. So yes, that plan, as far as they're concerned, if it is done as we say that we will do it, it will represent our fixing it for the Bahamian people. Madam Speaker, we are going to engage in a massive housing program in Bimini. Now, I've mentioned it to the minister responsible for housing because we've talked about it for years, but when we were in government between 2002 and 2007, we purchased 20 acres of land on the south side of Bimini. It's still sitting there. It's still sitting there. It's now time because Bimini's north side is a bit overcrowded. So now we must move to cause for that housing development to take place. Madam Speaker, we also must cause for a school to be built. We talked about the primary school, the Lewis McDonald. Yes, it's been there. We have wonderful support from Gateway, provided for upper students. But now it's time for another school to be built. Madam Speaker, that has to happen during this term. And Madam Speaker, we started the administrative complex. We did a good job in getting that done, but they didn't open the administrative complex. But we're about to open the administrative complex. Because that administrative complex represents the Bimini that we want. Because the old administrative complex was built by Warren J. Lavarity in 1968, Madam Speaker. It has had its time. Now it's time for a new facility, and it's all ready to go. And Madam Speaker, I'm looking forward to the day because we're going to fix the name of an outstanding Biminite on that structure because he deserves it and it has to be named in his honor. Madam Speaker, it's because we're trying to take our communities forward. I want to remind this Parliament that when I became the Member of Parliament for Bimini in 2002, there were many negatives. All the people of Bimini asked me for were two things. They wanted to have the harbor dredged, because the silting over 20 years has built up so much. And so we did that. That is how come the tourism industry came back. That's how come the hotels came in there. That's how come we have more business. That's how come the Minister of Tourism will tell you that Bimini is one of the leading destinations in the entire Commonwealth of the Bahamas because of the work we did. And look at the straw market. The straw market in Bimini, Madam Speaker, is one of the most modern in this entire country. It is a modern straw market. And we're hoping that it becomes a model for other straw markets around the country. So, Madam Speaker, there's still much more to be done. And we're going to do it. And Bimini is going to still get more during this term. Because there are those who would argue that, oh, Bimini got a lot. No, not enough. There's never too much for the people of Bimini or the people of the Bahamas. Now, in West Grand Bahama, Madam Speaker, now I remind everybody here that West Grand Bahamas, West End, is the capital of Grand Bahama. It is the capital. And West End used to. There was a time when the West End Airport welcomed more than 400,000 visitors that flew into West End, particularly from Canada. They came in, they were able to land, and they go to the hotel, the Jack Tar Hotel, a very popular hotel. But now, Madam Speaker, I've spoken to the minister responsible for tourism, again, to work with him to cause for a hotel to be expanded in West End. We have a property there now, the Old Bahama Bay, but it has less than 100 rooms. We need more rooms. We need to ensure that we have the airport now catering to the international community to ensure that we're able to bring more airlifts to West End. Because, Madam Speaker, when we talk about the problems we face, unless we get our economy moving, unless we move our economy from 1.5% to about 4 to 5 to 6%, then we're still going to have the problems every year. We'll see them always repeating because every year you see more and more people graduating, young children coming out of school, and yet they have no opportunities. So, Madam Speaker, we're going to do all we possibly can to make a difference. We're going to dredge that harbor in West End as well, because that harbor has to be dredged for years. It's had silting, so now we must dredge it. And, of course, the seawall. Madam Speaker, if you'd recall the Hurricanes Francis, Jane, and Wilma in 2004, 5, and 6, you'd remember, Madam Speaker, that we had so much damage in West End. And it has all to do, Madam Speaker, we have a low wall, and when the surges come, it's just too much for the community. So what we're going to do, Madam Speaker, is lift the wall, and we're going to cause for reclamation of land, to extend the community somewhat, to make more things available for our people on the seafront, on the waterfront. And so the Bayshore Road will become a very exciting place again. And Bimini becomes a very exciting place. West End becomes a very exciting place to be, just like Bimini. So, Madam Speaker, I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about the fact that we're now going to engage in more cultural programs. We're going to cause an 8 Mile Rock. In 8 Mile Rock, Madam Speaker, we're going to build a cultural center on where we have the fish fry now. Madam Speaker, after Hurricane Francis, there was a fish fry, and it was destroyed by Hurricane Francis. Well, we went and we put a temporary facility, but it's still there. It's the same one. So, Madam Speaker, when we moved to have the administrative complex built on 8 Mile Rock, or the Queens Highway of 8 Mile Rock, that administrative complex is to replace the one that exists now, and that exists now is going to become the new cultural center, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, again, they talk about fix it. Well, fix it. We started the administrative complex in 2016, and they ain't fixed that. It's still sitting there. The minister responsible for works was there just the other day, and he said, okay, we're looking at completing perhaps in 2022 now. They've not done anything, Madam Speaker. It just sat there. The Prime Minister visited, the former Prime Minister visited, and I remember quoting him after he visited. And he said that it was one of the most exciting and beautiful places, and he liked the fact that he said all administrative complexes ought to be modeled after this one. That's what he said. That's what he said. That's what he said. And I'm with him. I'm with him. We were on the same page that day. I'm with him on that. Because I'm with him because at the end of the day, Madam Speaker, that's what we want to do, because that is going to serve as a stimulant for the economy of 8 Mile Rock. That's the purpose, Madam Speaker. That's why we're putting it there. But I don't think they saw the vision. I don't think they understood what we're trying to do. I don't think that they understood how that would impact the people and change the economic circumstances, so they did nothing, Madam Speaker. And having done nothing, now we got to go fix it. Because they didn't do it, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we talk about, and I heard this cry about, oh, we're going to bed basket and we're going to put the prices up and we're going to do this, and all that emotion and that, oh, they're so concerned about it. But were they concerned about the school children in West Grand Bahama when we were building the school? Were they concerned about causing that school to be completed, that we started in Holmes's Rock? Were they concerned? This love for people and this cause for the poor? Well, what do you think the school is for? School is for our people who have to travel, young children get up 4 o'clock in the morning, have to jump on buses and go to Freeport, 30-plus miles out of West End, as opposed to being in their own community. We started that school. That's the first school, Madam Speaker, that was built since 1968 in West Grand Bahama. That's why we were building it. And what's so amazing is when I hear this talk about, oh, we're so concerned. Concerned about what? You think it's a good political point, you mean? And so you're trying to score a political point, and you are making a statement even before we have the debate because you're looking for something to hold on to. You're looking for something to hold on to because you ain't got nothing else to hold on to. And the reality is, Madam Speaker, there's tons of evidence that you didn't show that you cared. How could you say you cared when the school was there? You did nothing to complete that school. Nothing. And then when we visited the other day, it was like, why are we still at this stage? Madam Speaker, the ground was broken 2016. 2016. Now we got to go fix it. Now we got to go open it. And the Minister of Works has announced that the school will open next semester. That is not next semester, next term, next year, the September semester. So I'm looking forward for that, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, because at the time we started that school, that's supposed to make a big difference in our community. So I thank the Honorable Minister of Works and the Minister for Grand Bahama for coming to take a look at and to see what our cry has been, and for agreeing to move with urgency to ensure that our young children get the opportunities that they so badly need. So thank you very much, my colleagues. Madam Speaker, I want to say that the Prime Minister has given me a tremendous opportunity. A tremendous opportunity. In fact, Madam Speaker, I'm beginning to wonder if I never understood my passion. I always knew that I cared about people. I always understood that I do and give my very last to anyone. I always thought that we should care and show love. I always, when I was much younger, would stop on the streets, pick people up, take them home, and feed them. Always did it, Madam Speaker, but I never realized that's truly my passion. And it's taken the Prime Minister to discover what my passion is. Because giving me responsibility for social services is perhaps the greatest opportunity I've ever had. I have the opportunity to touch people like I've always wanted to touch people. I always wanted, Madam Speaker, to touch Bahamian people in the way that this ministry allows me to do. Madam Speaker, I wanted to remind this Parliament that in 1979, after the visit of Pope John Paul, Sir Lyndon Pinling at the 24th Convention of the Progressive Liberal Party launched the second phase of the Quiet Revolution, the social revolution. And he borrowed the words of the Pope because the Pope in his visit that was very late in the night, an October night, very late in the night, the words were simply these, that we must feed the poor, heal the sick, guide the youth, and bring peace to every heart. The social revolution. That's what it was. And he made it very clear that when you say you're going to heal the sick, not everybody can get well overnight. He didn't say that. What he explained was that it meant that you didn't have to suffer the torture and the anguish of inadequate health care. Isn't that where we are right now, Madam Speaker? Isn't that where our country is right now? The social revolution is even more significant today than ever before. Feed the poor. He didn't say that the poor was going to become rich overnight. He explained that that meant that the poor would not live in degradation and would not have the indignity thrown at them every single day. When he said guide the youth, he wanted to make it very clear that you're not going to go with every whim and fancy of the young people. What he said was they were going to be given and shown the way to be profitable and successful and to have a greater life. That is the focus of the social revolution. Madam Speaker, our country today has problems. We have difficulties. I'm discovering more and more as I move about and I read the documents. I'm discovering more and more of the problems. I was trying to determine what and how do you rate the levels of poverty. I saw statistics from 2014 that showed that 1 in every 8 residents lives in poverty. 1 of every 8 residents in the Bahamas lives in poverty. And poverty meaning that you earn less than $4,427 a year. That's poverty. Less than $4,427 a year. And it also showed, Madam Speaker, that the level in our country is like 12.4%. In New Providence, 12.4%. Grand Bahama, 9.7%. But in the Family Islands, Madam Speaker, 17.2%. Those are the numbers. Those are the numbers. And just think, it's gotten progressively worse. Just imagine what has happened over the years. It's gotten progressively worse. So we have to get the stats now. We have to understand where we are. And we have to move quickly to get our people out of welfare, get our people in jobs, get our people in a life that we all would be proud of. Madam Speaker, poverty is high in our country. In 2014, 1 out of every 8. Could you imagine what it is today? That is why you have to give credit to the government for its national food program, its task force that it sought to do. It was a good idea. It was a good idea to assist social services. Not a bad idea. My difficulty with the program, though, is that it started off feeding some 55,000, they claim, 55,000 households and ended up feeding some 16,000 households, but spending $53 million. See, Madam Speaker, I've asked the questions because I couldn't figure it out. I think it's a good idea. I know what they were trying to do. They were going all around the country, and they were trying to assist social services. So in Grand Bahama, about another 4,000 they were giving out. Here in New Providence, another 4,000. But Madam Speaker, I believe, though, that the program lost its way somewhere. And they claimed that the high number of 55,000 had all to do with the fact that people were at the time perhaps getting from other centers as well. And after they were able to do more of the evaluation, they got it down to a lower number. Madam Speaker, the reality is, though, our people needed it, and many still do. I think what many don't understand is when the government introduced this program in May 2020, its program was to end several months before. It didn't, and then it ended October 4th. We never ended the government's program. That was the date set by the previous administration, October 4th, 2021. So there was this misunderstanding of who's responsible. Well, the previous administration. And then, of course, what happened was those who were being fed by or assisted by the national network, they came into social services. And I found it quite interesting when I raised the questions publicly. Then I was called and told that they found a surplus of $1 million, and they found 18,000 vouchers that they sent back to us. We've received them, we've accepted them, and now we're giving them out. And we intend to, if they find some more, we'll take them. But I want to thank them. I do want to thank them. I do want to thank them, Madam Speaker. I do want to thank them because, in spite of it all, there was an effort, a national effort, to make a difference. There was a national effort. So I give them credit. But I always, and I've had this thing stuck in the back of my mind, that we can do things a bit better. We can coordinate a bit better. We have 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 or 13. All these giving out the same things, and then we have this duplication all over the place. Why? Why? And that tells me that we're not sitting down, planning, organizing. Social services has a network. Social services has been, and every month, feeds more than 10,000. Every single month, Madam Speaker. Every month. And that's their responsibility. But what I don't understand, Madam Speaker, is when we think about social services, why is it that we only have 4 community centers in New Providence? Why? And the high level of poverty is in New Providence. Why? We have one in Fox Hill, one on Wolf Road, Robinson Road, and Pitt Road. But you're telling me, Madam Speaker, that it makes sense for people to come from Gambia to Pitt Road for service. From Gambia, Carmichael Road to Pitt Road for service. Kalani should have put one in Gambia. We're going to do it for you, Kalani. We're going to fix you up, Kalani. We're going to take care of your people for you, Kalani. Because we must. I had a call from someone out there last week, and the call was, it's a blind man. And he said the difficulty he had was getting to Pitt Road because he has to depend on somebody to get him there. And he said that nobody wanted to give him a ride right then. So you see the problem. You see the problem. See, so he has to travel all the way out. See, we have to cater to our people. So, Madam Speaker, we're going to put several more in New Providence because we have to take care of our people, Madam Speaker. We're not going to allow our people to be suffering and catching hell. Madam Speaker, I want to talk about disabilities. The RISE program I'm going to get to. I'm going to talk about the RISE program in some great detail when we have the debate and we begin to discuss the supplemental bill. I want to talk about the RISE program because the Prime Minister has given a mandate. He wants the RISE program reactivated. Now, I want the record to reflect that the RISE program was stopped in July of 2017. and stopped by the IDB that funded it at $4 million. They stopped it because they said it was lagging behind. Some components of it were not being attended to. Components such as education and health, they were not being attended to, and people didn't understand the RISE program as they should. The RISE program is an incentive program, but there's some components in it to help you get out of welfare. It's to help you get out of welfare. It gives you certain incentives. And done in Mexico, done in Brazil, done in Colombia, done in Jamaica, done in many countries that have proven to be successful. But ours was stopped in July 2017. And the argument then by the IDB was it was not moving as it should. I'll explain more when I speak to it. Madam Speaker, but just let me say Disabilities Month begins today. Now, I have a difficulty, Madam Speaker, having met with the association and having met with representatives and having spoken to the people in my ministry, because we're still not fully compliant with the Disabilities Act. We're still not, Madam Speaker. In Section 47 of the Act, we're still not doing what we're supposed to do in terms of having inspectorated buildings. We don't have them in the country yet. Still, having passed the Act in 2014, we haven't done it, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Section 21 tells us that we have not to this day provided vehicular for the people. There's no vehicular traffic, there's no vehicular assistance. I'm going to meet with the minister responsible, because when she spoke about the transportation system today, made me excited, because we're going to introduce transportation. Barbados just 3 weeks ago bought 30 buses for the disability. We have to move in that direction. We have situations, Madam Speaker, in Section 47 tells us that we are not today doing what we're supposed to do. And we have to attend to it. Section 34 speaks about, okay, Madam Speaker, I know I'm finished, and I have to sit down and cash one more time. It would be wrong for me to breach, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I thank you. I congratulate you. We have much more to do.
Thank you, Honorable Member. And the Chair would like to extend birthday greetings to you today.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
As many, the Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for North Abaco.
Madam Speaker, I am truly honored and humbled by the confidence that the distinguished and diligent folks of North Abaco have placed in me to represent them within the hollow walls of Parliament. I am grateful to God, who by his grace and mercy has allowed me to be here today. I strongly believe that nothing happens without his permission. So it is by his design that I am here. Thank you to His Excellency, the Governor General, for an expertly delivered speech from the throne. I believe that the entire nation was given a clear indication of the Davis administration agenda moving forward. And I take this opportunity to congratulate you, Madam Speaker. You are the authority in this place.
That's right.
I would like to publicly acknowledge the mentorship of the late Livingston Miller, who saw leadership qualities in me and was the very first person who suggested that I offer myself to become a public servant to my community and my beloved Bahama land. Today, if he were here, I know that he would be beaming with pride and cheering me on. To Merle
and the children. I know that it is difficult without him. However, please take comfort in the commitment and pride with which he served this country. May his soul rest in peace. I would also like to extend my sincere condolences to the many families of Abaco. We have lost many and continue to do so. I pray God will continue to comfort and keep each and every one of us in these times. I stand here in Parliament today because of people like Livingston Miller and other North Abaconians. You went to the polls. You spoke, and you spoke loudly. Thank you for affording me this opportunity to serve you. It is my intention to exceed your expectation. To my campaign team, Team Cornish, I truly appreciate your hard work for standing by me through the ups and downs. Thank you for believing in me. I extend my gratitude to my parents, Pastor Leslie and Minister Ruth Cornish, to my son, KJ, my brothers and sisters, my uncles and aunts, and other family. My prayer team, my campaign team, Yvette Perdio, my campaign team manager. And of course, I would like to extend a deep and heartfelt thank you to Anastasia Dawkins, the chairman, North Abaco branch, and the executive team for their unwavering support. I say to the people of North Abaco and to the Bahamian public at large, the elections is over. Now is the time to put away our colors and collectively work to build our nation. I know that my colleagues agree with me that this new government will create opportunities for all Bahamians, regardless of their political affiliation. And this new government will bring forth its vision with fairness and justice for all. For the cynics and naysayers throughout the Bahamas who try to undermine our message of unity and equality, I say, if you don't believe, just watch. As our substantive agreement rolls out, you will see that we will deliver as promised. I am privileged to serve under the leadership of the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Philip Brave Davis, who shares the philosophy that a great leader is a servant of the people. Yes. The Honorable Member for Cat Island and Rum Key is, in my opinion, a man who has love and compassion for people. I strongly believe that this type of leadership is desperately needed in our nation. Once again, I thank you, sir, for the opportunity that you have afforded me to serve in your government. I think the Prime Minister agrees with me that certainly the people of North Abaco and Abaco in general has suffered much because of the neglect of those who should have prioritized their welfare and advancement, but instead failed them. As Parliamentary Secretary for the Office of the Prime Minister in Abaco, my objective is to assist the OPM in carrying out its agenda. At the top of the list of priorities for both myself and the Davis administration is the rebuilding of the communities that were badly damaged by Hurricane Dorian. My job is to ensure that we meet the needs of the people of Abaco. Madam Speaker, if you get the opportunity to travel to Abaco and stumble upon the administrative complex in Marsh Harbor, you would observe that what used to be a newly built administrative complex is now surrounded by the eyesore of mobile homes. I don't mean this as a criticism of the people dwelling in the homes, but as a general statement about the people of Abaco, what their standards and expectations are, and how this reality does not meet those standards. The people deserve better than what they got the past 2 years. It is a very horrific and discomforting view for many to behold in this day and age. Many of my constituents from Dundastown, Murphytown, and Central Pine communities now resides in these unsafe and unsanitary dome homes that were meant to be used as temporary housing solutions in the immediate aftermath of the storm. I will repeat. The domes were meant to be used as a temporary solution in the immediate aftermath of the storm, not years later, and definitely not as permanent dwelling. As I walked the community of Dundas and Murphytown, I was saddened by the living conditions. These are Bahamians living in dome homes like refugees in their own country. It was heart-wrenching to see. For those who don't have access to housing solutions, they find shelter wherever they can. I've seen an entire family living in a small wash house. This is unacceptable in our Bahama land. The Davis administration is going to change that.
Right.
If you travel further north and take a stop in any of the communities, you would notice abandoned schools throughout Abaco. It is vitally important for us to get our children back to school. For I am sure that the Honorable Member for Engliston, the Minister of Education, would agree with me. For every year that a child misses in school, we run the risk of doing irreversible damage to their prospects for academic and career success. The educational system of Abaco has been hit by the dual crisis of Hurricane Dorian and the destruction it caused to the physical infrastructure and mental health of the island's students. Closely followed by the global pandemic that brought along challenges and fears related to outbreaks and social distance within schools, online learning, and access to the internet, and students who were unable to successfully participate in their lessons through no fault of their own. This is an urgent situation that I am sure the members of Engliston, Yamakra, and the rest of the Davis administration are mobilizing resources to address. It is a new day. We also hope to address issues with the water system in Green Turtle Key and the garbage disposal in Grand Key. In short order, we plan to bring resolution to the housing situation for those Bahamians of Haitian descent. We will deal with it humanely, respecting the dignity of all people regardless of their background. On the ground, many have complained about their treatment at the hands of the previous administration. Some say they were treated inhumanely and felt completely disrespected. We are here to change that. If you travel on to Little Abaco, you will discover communities in distress and disarray, and a docking facility in the port of Crown Haven and Green Turtle Key that needs to be rebuilt urgently. There is a critical need for infrastructure to be built. The Treasure Key sewer is a vexing situation that this Davis administration will address. People's livelihood have been put on pause for far too long. Contrary to the rosy picture of Abaco that the previous administration tried to paint, there is much work to be done. Just visit Grand Key. So, while their reports proudly displayed all of their big numbers, there was little to show on the ground for all the money they claimed they were spending. Just ask the people of Abaco. If they were happy with the progress being made, they would have voted FNN. Yet here I am today. My Abaco people voted for change, and we are here to deliver for them to the best of our abilities. Listen, I am not some politician here to win popular points with fancy speeches. Abaconians are my people. They are my family and friends. The people I hold near and dear to my heart live in Abaco. So, Madam Speaker, when they hurt, I feel their pain too. I worked for the Water and Sewage Corporation when Hurricane Dorian hit. I know how hard my team and I worked in challenging conditions to get running water back in Abaco. We put in many late nights, running on very little sleep. Some of us didn't have nothing to sleep in. We were willing to make this sacrifice because we've seen what Hurricane Dorian had done to our island. And we had resolved to do our part to help Abaco rebuild back better. I will bring that same resolve to my work as the Member of Parliament for North Abaco. West Grand Bahama and Bimini, please forgive me. I now know what it feels like to commit iniquity. That is to know you're about to sin and yet commit the sin. Madam Speaker, if I may, I would like to thank the following people. The Water and Sewage Corporation staff who traveled to Abaco to assist with the restoration of the water system. I would also like to extend an honorary salute to the Abaco staff with special reference to Reverend Jackie Curry. Kennedy Curry, a decent young man who had the honor of working with me. DeWarn McIntosh, also known as Bolly. Justin Kemp, Lovell Edgecombe, Reverend Q-Bell Davis, also known as Star. And last but not least, Henley Dawkins, the center of Abaco operations. Madam Speaker, these are the employees who remained or returned shortly after Dorian, and they deserve to be recognized and honored for their contribution, but instead, they are being accused of fraud for their efforts. Madam Speaker, West Grand Bahama and Bimini, have you ever observed a child with a toy that ceased to function, or the child does not understand how it functions? The child begins to bang the toy. In my humble but honest opinion, that was the behavior of the former chairman of the Water and Sewage Corporation, destroying many years of service and knowledge of good men and women. I must say to my Water and Sewage family, it is a new day. Forgive me.
Tell the story.
West Grand Bahama, I repent of my iniquity. It is my desire to assist people like Miss Salida Sawyer, a displaced widow from Cooperstown, in getting back home. We have a retired educator and school principal in Treasure Key, still living in a trailer home. Is this how we repay those that have served our nation? We can be better. We must be better. There are so many stories like this. I can go on and on. My business here is the people of Abaco and their well-being. Upward mobility. Madam Speaker, high on my agenda is to facilitate the improvement of the service offered at the hospital in Abaco. I don't see why pregnant women have to be flown to New Providence to delivery, or why some COVID patients cannot be accommodated right in Abaco. Even minor surgeries cannot be performed in the hospital in Abaco. This Davis administration, in its blueprint to change outlined plans to improve healthcare throughout the Bahamas. This includes improvement to the health service offered in Abaco and the Keys. As we develop individual developmental plans for each island, we have pledged to complete home repairs, address housing needs, provide social assistance to those who need it, establish a task force to address lost property deeds, and increase police presence. We will also be developing a revamped disaster management plan that ensures that our response to future disasters will never be as disastrous as the previous administration haphazard response. This will include the completion of appropriate hurricane shelters and revamped evacuation procedures. Alongside our efforts to recover and rebuild in Abaco, I plan to work with the community stakeholders to empower our residents, provide educational opportunities, build needed infrastructure, promote business ownership, encourage innovation, protect our island from the effects of climate change and natural disasters, and restore the confidence of the people in the government. There is so much work to do, and I'm just talking about Abaco. The Davis administration has similar work to do in Grand Bahama, as well as Ragged Island, which was completely overlooked by the previous administration. Throughout the nation, we are seeing an unprecedented need for monetary and food assistance, as COVID-19 has ravaged the healthcare system and the economy. If there was any other administration in power, right now I would be more afraid. But I truly believe that the Davis administration is a government for the people. I have seen the policy development work happening on the ground to create more fair and equitable opportunities for everyone. I have seen my fellow members of Parliament put their heads together and pull their teams together to develop the initiatives that will empower the Bahamian people to emerge from this trying time even stronger than before. I believe the Progressive Liberal Party has a team of people who also possess the character and determination for us to make it out of these trying circumstances together. Madam Speaker, it is my aspiration to rebuild North Abaco and make it a better place for future generations to come. Under this government, I am confident that we will meet this objective. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you all. God bless you.
Thank you, Honourable Member for North Abaco. As many? The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Marathon.
Madam Speaker, and members of this Honourable House, today I pause to reflect and thank the Almighty God for His grace and mercy on my life. I would like to thank my mother, Deborah Ramming, for her continued prayers and support, and my daughter, Adriel Pratt, and my sister, Chantel Ramming, and my entire family who all lives in Marathon. I would also like to pause and to thank all of the hardworking and dedicated campaign managers who had to put up with all that I had to give. That's my brother, Nolan Carey, Virginia Thurston, and Sharon Martin. And the 100+ campaign workers of the great constituency of Marathon, who was toiled with me to bring the victory home on September 16, 2021. And of course, I would be remiss if I do not thank my pastor and prophet friends who are very dear to me. That's Prophet Leo Adley, Prophet Levan Sands, Prophetess Tanya Jane Jacks, Prophetess Sheena Moss, Pastor Kenneth H.P. Adley, Bishop Lawrence Roll, the singing bishop, who I love so dear, And certainly I salute the fine pastors of Marathon, Bishop Simeon Hall, retired Pastor Jaderet, and Pastor Patton, just to name a few. Madam Speaker, I certainly give thanks to the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Philip Edward Brave Davis, for entrusting me to be a part of this new day team of leaders to govern in this Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Madam Speaker, I congratulate all of my colleagues who have transcended and made it to the finish line, and to you, Madam Speaker. You have made history. You are the epitome of a strong and progressive woman of change. I salute you this day. As I would have said on countless times in different forums, and I say it again in this honorable place, elections are over. The pomp and pageantry is over. And the work for a better community and Bahamas is just beginning for us all. To the residents of Marathon, I have proven to you, and I will continue to, what true representation looks like, and even now. I commit to you today, as I have done when I was seeking your vote at the polls. I am still exhibiting that same effort and tenacity in the community as I continue to walk door to door, one neighborhood at a time, each week, reaching out to countless residents, listening to their concerns, and executing on some thus far, and making inroads with others. Since coming into office, I have met hundreds, literally hundreds of residents over the course of the weeks at the constituency office, and many have made appointments whom I have given appointment days to, and I want you to know your date will be enforced. The Marathon platform was given during the course of the campaign, and much of it has been executed. Today, there is an apprenticeship program that is ongoing, and it sparked off a new venture for the young men and women in Marathon as they were taught trades in the work environment. Marathon's first marching band was founded months ago and has engaged scores of students in the art of learning how to both play music and read music. I just can't wait for their first public performance. Our Senior Citizens Health Program that allows for medical personnel to visit their various homes to do basic health checks is still ongoing. This is one of our mobile resource programs. And of course, there is the periodic distribution of coupons from our constituency office. And Madam Speaker, let me say thank you to BTC and the Royal Bahamas Police Force, who has partnered with Marathon a few weeks ago by donating some 100 food coupons to the residents. Thank you so much. Marathon residents can certainly look forward to our platform being continually rolled out as it relates to health, both for seniors, adults, and kids. Education, we are seeking to host college and university fairs in collaboration with Bridget Francis, international college consulting firm. Our crime prevention initiatives, we're trying to strengthen and promote Crime Watch Association in high crime areas. And of course, Madam Speaker, diversification of the economy, for example, by encouraging and promoting small business manufacturing among residents and entrepreneurship workshops. One of our Marathon residents will be the first small business manufacturer that will soon be out. As it relates to urban development in Marathon, which of course was a part of our platform from the beginning of the campaign, I have heard many concerns by relatives regarding employment and community development projects. And may I add that the Ministry of Works is now aware as to the major challenges from our community parks, particularly the one on Claridge Road, the Lou Adderley Park. A letter was submitted to the Minister of Works for attention to be drawn to the needed repairs and the upkeep of that park. Marathon residents can feel assured that help is on the way. Residents can also feel assured that the Ministry of Works was notified of the extensively clogged drainage on Wilmar Road, the road paving for Bowes Clove, which they complained about 3 different elections. Help is on the way. Madam Speaker, to my Marathon residents, if you don't see me knocking on your door, you can be assured to see me and to hear from me when you visit the constituency office. Madam Speaker, I heard a member of the opposition would have indicated the other night that she did not hear anything revolutionized about the launch of the new urban renewal that I described. However, she also indicated that she is willing to sit back and wait. She may not have said this in so many ways, but it is sufficient to be interpreted as this. Madam Speaker, even if I intend to add the slightest program to the urban renewal, it would be revolutionized because the previous administration has abandoned this initiative and allowed it to hit rock bottom. I want the opposition to know that when they crushed the urban renewal program because of political egos, I assume, they should have known, or they must have known, that they would have caused and demolished the moral fiber and social tapestry of our Bahama land. The Barbadian Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Mia Mottley, said, if we can find the will to send people to the moon and solve male baldness, we can solve certain problems like letting our people eat. In my view, while we have not sent anyone to the moon in the Bahamas, we have callously spent millions of dollars on sidewalks. And while we have also not solved male baldness, we have mismanaged the funds for those in need for social and welfare assistance. It is evident.
It is evident.
They literally snatched away the hope that the people relied on in the inner city. The hope of having their kids learn in a safe environment. The hope of having the opportunity to be taught how to play an instrument. Where is the marching band? Where? Hope in the urban areas have been lost for a guaranteed Merry Christmas for a very long time.
Bring it back.
So I would like to say, December 10th, we're having a Christmas tree lighting. It will be a national Christmas tree lighting in conjunction with an international charity group who came and approached us, and they're more excited to give to the inner city. So invites would be given to all constituencies to be a part, and of course, there would be a limited amount of persons who would be able to come. We'd be giving out toys, food, and also food coupons to everyone. The former Christie administration, with pure intentions, wanted to provide means of addressing the social ills, crime, and tackling poverty among the less fortunate in the Bahamas. A case study was undertaken by Desiree Cox, and recommendations were made sometime back in 2003 to 2005. Hence, the Christie administration would have adhered to the recommendation, and many persons benefited, and lives were subsequently changed, thus by the implementation of the Urban Renewal 2.0. As a former Urban Renewal Assistant Manager and a former Assistant Director of the Farm Road Urban Renewal Band, scores of families, I can personally tell you, their lives were transformed. They were given basic amenities, simple as the erection of inside toilet in their homes was a joy for them. The opportunity to learn music, to be a part of the renowned marching band, we traveled all over the world with kids who had passports for the very first time. The real urban urban renewal underwent reconstruction. Many homes went under reconstruction. I remember the late Miss Hazel Ellis, a senior citizen from a color corner. I remember she cried when we did the ribbon cutting. I remember Miss Carter from Thompson Lane. I used to sit there and eat all kind of food and get fat in Centerville. Her house was also renovated. She was extremely happy. Urban renewal revolutionized. Madam Speaker, members of this honorable House, the Merriam-Webster Collegiate Dictionary defines revolutionize as to change something radically or fundamentally. My government is presently conducting a review of manpower and expenditure of the Urban Renewal Commission, with the view of determining what is necessary and what is not. At present, there are 10 urban centers in New Providence and 12 scattered across the family of islands, including Grand Bahama, Bimini, and the Abacos. Urban renewal will bring to the table a number of new initiatives that would benefit both residents in the inner city and other key areas. The success of these initiatives will certainly be dependent on partnership with various government agencies, non-profit organizations, and private donors alike. Madam Speaker, as Martin Luther King said it best, the health of a nation is the wealth of a nation. It is my ministry's, our ministry's intent to join hands with the Ministry of Health and Wellness in its quest
You may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is our ministry's intent to join hands with the Ministry of Health and Wellness in its quest to combat the invisible enemy, COVID-19. We would wish to implement mobile vans equipped with vaccinations and medical personnel with the view of taking the vaccination to the people in the community. This would certainly increase the existing number of vaccinated individuals and potentially decreasing the number of cases and related deaths in the Bahamas. Mr. Speaker, we would engage and monitor a virtual learning platform for students who do not have internet, electricity, technology, or supervision to effectively engage in their online classes. This initiative would be garnished between the church and the urban center and the Ministry of Education. We are seeking to locate retired teachers, interested teachers who will be given a stipend for assisting us with this venture. Mr. Speaker, in keeping with the speech from the throne, Urban Renewal Revolutionized would seek to expand the provision of potable water in key inner city communities by having pipelines installed so that residents can have access to running water in their homes. Our partnership with the Ministry of Works is eminent with this project. Mr. Speaker, in keeping with our blueprint for change, my government's mandate through social services and urban development will work to ensure that no one goes to bed hungry, as long as we are aware of it. Urban renewal would have case aid workers assigned to the various community centers to provide immediate relief in the area of food and other necessities to avoid the struggles, the long lines, and the long waits. Mr. Speaker, the most astounding news I come to pronounce is that the first time in the history of this country, a temporary housing for homeless people and temporary displaced persons through the efforts of the government through the Urban Renewal Program is underway. We have spoken with foreign donors who are excited to invest in this venture. It is proposed that this temporary facility will be available in the first quarter of 2020. There will be warm shelters and warm beds. 2022. There will be warm shelter and warm beds for the homeless. It is intended for this temporary home to be named Philip Brave Davis Pavilion of Hope. This, I tell you, would provide employment for some in the manner of security and domestic services. Our partnership with the church and civic groups will bring about sustainable growth and development. This is only until a permanent location can be sought. I can tell you, and the Minister Wilchem can agree, that in the last 3 months, social services would have spent $130,000 for persons seeking for place to live. Mr. Speaker, Urban Renewal Revolutionized program would allow for a door-to-door initiative where community relations representatives will be able to furnish required information on the current stats regarding the level of poverty and the needs of residents in this country. The 2014 stats will not suffice. Today, I am pleased to announce that the Urban Renewal Centers will serve as a community hub for collecting qualitative and quantitative data with the empirical assistance and manipulation of that data by our department heads of Gender and Family Affairs, the University of the Bahamas, and the Department of Statistics. Mr. Speaker, in order to advance student and adult literacy as it relates to Bahamian history and Bahamian writers and or poets, through the Urban Renewal Revolutionized program, we will establish a library called All Things Bahamian. Mr. Pintard, the honorable member for Markle City, we would have your book, would also be in that library, still standing. I always remember that. We would also have other Bahamians, our 8-year-old Bahamian child, Zara Bryan. We would have Patricia Glinton, Telsine Roll, Paul Aldry, Michael Creighton, all the Bahamian authors and poets. We would want that information to be in our library. Mr. Speaker, of course, there will be ongoing entrepreneurship programs and expose in partnership with private entities, BTVI, and the University of the Bahamas. This would equip residents with the ability to create their own business as the world is evolving and technology is advancing. It is our mandate to ensure that we teach every man how to fish and not only give him fish to eat. The Urban Renewal Revolutionized initiative will include the creation of a national youth community service program. This program would allow for youths throughout the Bahamas to sign up with the urban centers, and the center would act as a filter to deploy students to various civic organizations to carry out community service. The Humane Society, the Salvation Army, the Bahamas National Trust, the Red Cross, and it goes on and on. The program's purpose would seek to give students a greater appreciation and involvement for outreach and community service. Also to spread the good, to support academic success, develop a sense of awareness. Those in senior school would be able to use the community hours towards obtaining their national high school diploma, which requires 40 hours of community service. And a stipend would be given to students who perform 40 hours or more of community service under this program. Mr. Speaker, Urban Renewal Revolutionized would form a National Youth Award program called the Cynthia Mother Pratt Urban Renewal Youth Award for females. and the Algernon Allen Urban Renewal Award for males. 2 recipients would be selected between the ages of 12 and 17 who would have obtained a GPA of 3.60 or higher, and they must be actively involved in a community or non-civic group. We want the Family Islands to know that they are a part of this venture. And I say, New Providence is not the Bahamas. It is a part of a myriad of beautiful sunny islands that all make up the Bahamas. Mr. Speaker, our goal is to partner with the Ministry of National Security through collaboration with the Royal Bahamas Police Force in re-establishing the real community policing that was really attached to the urban centers. It is our intent to partner with the Ministry of Housing and the Disaster Restoration Committee to assist with reconstruction efforts in those islands that was gravely impacted by Hurricane Dorian. Grand Bahama and Abaco, we hear you. Mr. Speaker, there will be an awakening of the Urban Renewal Foundation. This initiative was the brainchild of Cynthia Mother Pratt and Mr. Algernon Allen. This is the arm that gives the authority to partner with private citizens, organizations, banks, investors, donors who seek to invest in the Urban Renewal Program. The foundation, it is the powerhouse that connects urban renewal and private partners with the view of accomplishing much together. The government cannot do it on its own. Mr. Speaker, the Urban Renewal Program would seek to promote backyard farming to residents. This would enable them to be self-sufficient and prepare for days of drought. We talk about farming is coming. What are we doing to prepare? With this initiative, Urban Renewal will provide a startup farming kit and seek donations from private donors in the form of greenhouses to erect at some of the community centers for the demonstration of the proper techniques. We have already located a young gentleman, 30 years of age, Mr. James Audley Winters. He is so magnificent. He does backyard farming, he teaches it, and we look forward to engaging him in this. Mr. Speaker, as our regular work hours at the Urban Renewal extends only to 9 to 5 daily, to better assist residents who may be in need, there will be an emergency hotline implemented for after-hours concerns. This service would be called The Connect. It will be our first remote employment opportunity offered to residents. Hired individuals would be able to be a part of our hotline services right in the comfort of their own homes. In addition to the number of revolutionized initiatives offered, Urban Renewal, as it always was, but now even more consistently and on a higher level, will offer programs as it relates to the marching band, digitization training, and we want to involve senior citizens in this. The Senior Citizens Program, technical training, summer youth programs, adult literacy, introduction of small manufacturing, computer classes, and it goes on. Mr. Speaker, in the next short while, our department is looking to reintroduce sports within the community, which will seek to identify and recruit young, talented males and females in various sports, with the view of exposing them to hundreds of coaches throughout the United States in an effort to secure funding for higher education. We have sought much talks with Jadian Miller and company, a sports recruitment scout who would act as a liaison with Urban Renewal to invite international coaches throughout the U.S. with the mandate of acquiring scholarships. Much attention would be geared towards this venture to provide God-sent miracles to many who live in the inner city. Mr. Speaker, In the coming months, urban renewal will wake up the sports world that lies somewhat dormant due to the COVID-19 protocols. Through the medium of offering bubble games where young men and women can play various sport games and participants are allowed to view it live in the comfort of their homes. And Mr. Speaker, and members of this Honorable House, being a part of this new day, I am pleased to announce that coming on stream shortly is the tabling of our draft Urban Renewal Authority Act, and it has to be tweaked some more. When implemented, this would allow for much autonomy among its management, and its benefits are far and wide. One of which would allow persons employed to be permanent and pensionable. Rather than acquiring contractual positions, and every time the government changes, it displaces many. With this, families can plan financially ahead for a more secure future. Secondly, the Act would allow for the authority to be able to offer grants and loans and be able to accept financial and realty gifts from donors. Our final act of revolution for now is the hiring of our young, insightful, intellectual, and creative executive team. Mr. Speaker, we have engaged top qualified team of young persons at the Urban Renewal Commission, director, deputy directors, ranging from age 30, 27, and 28 to steer this revolutionized plan into action. Mr. Speaker, it is with great hope that this team at the Urban Renewal Commission would act as a model to spark fire and become contagious among other government agencies and private entities that would give our young people a chance and a say in this country. Our goal is to deter young Bahamians from going abroad looking for a better opportunity. We want you to know that opportunities are here and our government will not leave you behind. Mr. Speaker, as Minister of State for Social Services and Urban Development, I am delighted to have the Department of Gender and Family Affairs a part of my ministerial portfolio. The mandate of this department is to fight for inclusion. We intend to do this by taking a proactive and comprehensive approach in tackling social challenges. Mr. Speaker, as a Bahamian woman in government who would have joined 6 other dynamic women in this place, I share mutual sentiments of the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris when she said, "The battle for equality continues, and the daily challenge to myself is to be a part of the solution, to be a joyful warrior in the battle to come." This department is having a number of upcoming events, and we're asking for all persons to be involved, to get engaged. Mr. Speaker, our first event is the International Men's Day on Friday, November 19, which will all be broadcast due to our discussion, campaigns, and public seminars. Our next event will be November 26th and December 9th to observe National Women's Week. I gave the staff, when had a meeting with them, I talked to them about this National Week and the events dealing with women. I gave them a charge that the Zonta, the Rotary, all the women groups that you can think of that come together to discuss making women better. I gave them the charge to adopt a female who's single, who is struggling. I have so many females that call me on a daily basis, those in and out of my constituency. Just on Saturday, we would have bought baby clothes. Me and my team, we went out to Kelly's. 3 different pregnant mothers who don't have help. I help them, and I'm asking you to come out of the 4 walls, both males and females, adopt someone. Everybody knows somebody. Find a job for them. Assist them. And so this is what I'm looking forward for my colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
As many.
Chair recognizes the honorable member from Marco City.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy. I want to first say thank you to all of the members of the Marco City team for the incredible work that they have done, and to express my gratitude to them for the sacrifices they have made over a number of years. After Hurricane Matthew, many of the persons in Marco City continued to help others even though they themselves were challenged. And I want to say to all of you how grateful I am for your guidance and your continued concern for the residents of Marco City. I also want to say a special thanks to my mother, Sister Laura Benson, for her continued prayers, a godly example, and for loving all of her children unconditionally, even when we caused you tremendous challenges. And to my wife, Berlice, and my daughter, Michaela, who have sacrificed a great deal. All of our spouses who have joined us in this incredible journey of nation building face the challenge of public scrutiny and sometimes unwarranted attacks. And I want to say, Berlice, I love you, and to Michaela, I love you. I told the story recently how my daughter said, just before election, Daddy, I hope you lose so you could spend more time home. It is telling the things that children observe. And I must tell you, for a moment, I was a little concerned. I ain't superstitious, but I was worried. I also want to say a special thanks to the wider Marco City family, the residents who have embraced our team and who recognize that we absolutely love them and we're committed to their welfare. We have a saying in Marco City that we're prepared, once election is over, to serve all residents, because we believe that when poverty strikes, it really does not check to see what your politics is. And the challenges we face in this country as it relates to crime, the criminal doesn't stop to check who you voted for in the last general election. So we have tried to discharge our duties to Bahamians. And we believe it has paid dividends, that somehow we've plugged into something that St. Barnabas is plugging into, where we don't just talk this business of loving and serving Bahamians, we are manifesting it in how we behave. Because somehow we managed to get in this house, and it's amazing to hear the bombing on the table. This is how it started out. Bombing in month 1, and month 2, and laughter, and feeling real powerful. And then 5 years later, most people are gone, and a couple return. But we believe that it's important to serve everyone and not demonize the other side. I'm a member of this organization, the Free National Movement, because I still believe that we represent the best possible hope of being the vehicle for change in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And I don't demonize PLPs because there are good people in every organization, and I think a tremendous amount of talent has been elected in this cycle, and so I'm looking forward to you lessening the burden that Bahamians face. But let me say, but I do have a challenge with the political culture that has survived in the Progressive Liberal Party, and it is my hope that the elder statesman and veteran firebrand Glennis Hannah Martin, the member for Angliston, will help set the right tone for a lot of our supporters. A culture survived that permits bullying. Persons walking into ministries and pointing to folks and asking them if they still there. You know, you could be going next week. Well, maybe it'll be sooner. And it's tolerated. A culture that permits
persons to be released even though they are duly hired. I'm happy to hear from the member of Golden Gates and for the member of Fox Hill that they're going to address the matter of those persons in Grand Bahama. So I would pause on much of what I had to say with respect to that matter to see how it plays out. But it is so important that governments are truly continuous, that persons who are hired and duly hired in positions where they are needed, and we're not using the government system, the public service, as an employment agency, that those persons be permitted to continue to feed their families. Because being hired over the last 4.5 years doesn't tell the story of who you voted for. Contracts being canceled. Doesn't matter which administration do it. If you do it with the wrong motives, it is indefensible. And we certainly do not expect that under this administration that we are going to disenfranchise Bahamians and put them on the street. And it is a short-sighted strategy, because the truth is that some persons who may have, let's just say hypothetically, a bulk waste or a garbage collection contract might be supposedly identified as F&M, who happen to be married to a PLP whose all children have voted yellow, or is it blue? One of the colors. The point is, we have to be careful how we are disenfranchising Bahamians. So I have a challenge with the culture. I don't have a challenge with the talent. So let me say, yeah, one that would take a Quentin LaRoda.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Western Grand Bahama.
I'm just wondering if you're saying that you have a trouble with the culture of the PLP.
I identified areas that I have a challenge with in terms of the culture. I spoke about the bullying.
No, I'm concerned about when you talk about jobs and contracts, because if you would reminisce, just 4 years ago, when you took over and became the government, how many were disenfranchised? Tell me, I don't remember. Tell me. And how many who had contracts, like bus contracts in Grand Bahama, lost their contracts?
Except though I said to you that wherever any inappropriate actions are taken, it's indefensible. But let me help you out. But let me help you out. But let me help you out a little bit. When we came to office last time, there were a number of persons who were hired in inland revenue on short-term contracts. You did stop the time for me. Thank you very much. Who were hired on short-term contracts. Every one of them, their contracts were regularized and they continue in their employment. All of us who've been here for a while, we know that in Ministry of Education, there was unprecedented level of hiring, unprecedented. And those persons were hired, in some cases, on the eve of election, up to the night before. And so when persons went to their ministries, they found all of these folks who were hired. But the reality is they were kept. And many of them were not hired on delegated authority. They were directed to go and work, but they were regularized. So if you don't want all that, let me help you out. Then let me help you out. Let me make it easier for you. Many of them remained employed, including Ministry of Transport. And I'm not criticizing the act. I'm just saying that we kept the vast majority of them. That's all I'm saying. And so, and of course, urban renewal.
The chair recognizing the member for Angleton.
You give me one.
Yes, please.
I think that the leader of government business made the point that you seem to have an innuendo or suggestion. The member for Markle City seems to have an innuendo or suggestion that there's some special culture to the Progressive Liberal Party, which is victimizing, et cetera, et cetera. I wouldn't want the member to go there, because I served under the prior administration and couldn't get one house repaired. And I can go, let me just finish, please. Let me go on and on. So I really do not want a misrepresentation of the culture of the Free National Movement in its viciousness and specificness against people who did not support it.
I have and I'll continue to stand with you whenever you identify a case where somebody has done or said something that is indefensible. But that would not rob me of raising my voice in this place to make sure you join me when I identify cases where people have acted in an indefensible manner. Because what I found, let me just be clear, what I have found over the last 4.5 years is that while I sought to be balanced in my critique of how we have performed in government, I did not see that reciprocated. So what we want is a culture of decency without reciprocating it. And so when I can hear members of the Progressive Liberal Party do as a mature politician did from West End and Grand Bahama, to attribute successes to the former administration without playing the petty politics of skipping over an entire administration's work to talk about what we are doing now and what the PLP did 4.5 years ago, then we have a problem. And it is my hope that those persons who are joining the administration do not fall, do not continue down that unfortunate path. I've heard some interesting comments, for example, about the need for food security. This is an age-old problem. We've gone backwards as a country, without question, over the last 20 years. But it seems as if we are unwilling to pay attention to what has in fact been accomplished. I don't believe there's a need for example, urban renewal to duplicate services that already exist. The Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources, with a very capable minister and a very capable director of BAIC, it's already producing backyard kits. We've purchased well over 20,000 of them and distributed them to every single constituency in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. In the Ministry of Youth Sports and Culture, for example, is running a community sports program. So there isn't really a need for us to duplicate the services. We need to put our hands together and to figure out how we could streamline the scarce resources we have to execute the programs effectively. The truth, yes, we did. Yes, we did. Every constituency. Well, I promise you, in 2026, I'm gonna get you some. I'll get you some. So let me also say that in the school system, Nassau Village, we are already in the process of installing aquaponics and hydroponics systems in a number of the schools. They're being done. It's in train. So again, we're not breaking new ground. We should do what governments do. Governments are continuous. Continue those programs that work, critique and eliminate those programs that don't. So we have a marvelous opportunity. That's why I believe that every minister, every chairman should be mature and have a proper handover exercise where you're able to meet with your predecessor. And if they are immature in their politics, maybe they will not want to meet. I believe my colleagues will be happy to be of assistance because we want the Bahamian people to succeed. We want to make sure that you do well because the people we absolutely love, we want them to do well. And so we ask you to let us make sure, and I believe my colleagues would be more than willing to assist in handover. Put it to the test. Put it to the test. I've certainly said to Minister Clay, who attended each of the consultations we did when we were in the chair, we made sure every major policy or legislative consideration or program, we sought to meet with members of the opposition to lay out the case so that there wouldn't be any lack of continuity in governance. We have an opportunity. And so if we want a real revolution, I would say, I love the presentation. If we want a real revolution, then when we do urban renewal, what we would do, Mr. Minister, is stop what we did before, taking children out of school and putting them in the wonderful band, love to hear them play, bringing 4 ministers from intersecting ministries, having them come and celebrate the fact that we took one house, let's be generous, say 2 houses that were 600 square feet, made them 800 square feet, and while it was transformative for that life, we made it seem as if we were doing something transformative. Of people with the kind of talent, we have the resources that we have available. And we celebrated that. When the reality is, through that same corner where we celebrated the transformation of that 1 house or 2 houses, there were 30 homes in the same or worse condition. So if we're talking about change, we're talking, and I'm pulling for you. I'm pulling for you not to tinker around the edges, to do great and grand things. Well, the great and grand things we need is a 5-year plan. Do it bold. Do it bold. Do it bold. Make sure that we eliminate the outside toilets that are rampant throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And so when the member for Fox Hill talked about the deficits in Long Island, when he spoke about the deficits of Long Island, I was wondering, would it not be also appropriate and balanced to mention some of the other constituencies historically represented by the Progressive Liberal Party, where similar conditions exist and people are languishing in a state of poverty? Would it not be more balanced? Because then we can take the assessment in the spirit I hope it had been delivered in. And that is, no problem. I wish to amend the story, edit it for a moment, and just to simply say we have real problems with many Bahamians who are without potable water, who have outside toilets in the constituencies that we represent. And so when we bomb the desk for the team that we are part of, let's do so with a consciousness that that public knows that that same team have missed many homes over the years. And so all of us, from the time of the Grandstand Development Project, we have gone through the same tired cycle of clearing down these vacant properties, paying the same fellows with the heavy equipment. And every year, the rainy season comes, it goes back up, and we pay the same persons plenty money and seem not to have the presence of mind to go ahead and mulch some trees and put down some wood chip or mulch or landscape them. Every administration has done it. I don't know if you're all tired, but I know I'm tired of it. Because we have an opportunity, instead of just paying the heavy equipment guy, to pay the landscaper. To Nassau Village Point, to pay the person committed to community gardens so that they are able to go in and help create a community garden so the persons are able to generate revenue and income in the community, to shave some dollars off their bill. We have an opportunity to do some incredible things. So let's start. Let's start by changing the inner city area. Let's start by not assuming that our administration has the only blueprint and that maybe we need to find a way to collaborate in meaningful ways. So if we're going to talk to the U.S., I'm willing to support on this side sending a joint letter to the Charge d'Affaires or whomever it is necessary in the U.S. to make the point that Bahamians need to be treated with dignity. And they shouldn't be missing their flights on a continuous basis because somebody is on an ego trip, can't handle Bahamians who are able to travel every single week while they're stuck here in paradise. And so I'm willing to, what is one?
The chair recognizes the honorable member for...
Member of Parliament for Marco City. In response to your statement that you made regarding the bond, I want to be clear. Are you saying that the bond didn't make any sense or it doesn't make any sense? Could you...
Forgive me for a moment. It's not a point I want to, but I'll answer that at the end.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. I love bonds, and I thought it was wonderful to train all of our young people in instruments, etc. What I am saying is that we are celebrating mediocrity, policymakers, that we are contented to fix one small house and give the impression that we're doing something incredible for the country, when through each of the corners, you will find 20 houses just like it that we don't have a plan of action to change. That's the point I'm making. Well, you know, we could say that, but I'm just saying to you, for 25 years, from 25 years, you cannot identify one corner in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas that we have managed to transform when it came in contact with urban renewal by whatever name, under the F&M, under the PLP. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And so I'm saying we have some big issues. You know, the issue of commonage land, the issue of generation property that we've talked about indefinitely. The problem we have where on the issues of crown land, that these decisions are made by, generally under all administrations, one person. These are fundamental issues that people have a problem with. We'll never get past this issue where we are slowing down development because persons who have viable projects are unable to get the allocation of land with a fee simple title so that they could go out and do business. And so it is my hope that this administration would make a difference in ensuring that we stop the bottleneck of executing these critical decisions, and that you have an opportunity right now. That's revolutionary. A committee that can check the box. Is this person qualified to receive this land or this community qualified? You check the box and let them have it and they're off to the races. That's the kind of revolution that I'm interested in. And so at this age, the truth is, I've heard so many politicians. We've come in this place when I was in the Senate on 2 separate occasions. I would listen to us celebrate something that we would have accomplished, like helping some of the folks who have disabilities. Because we decide now we're going to amend a piece of legislation and make sure that ramps are available for all buildings that they go in. And then we start patting ourselves on the back as if we've done something fundamental. When the truth is, it has been us who've been behind the 8 ball because the non-governmental organizations in the community were petitioning us for over 20 years to do what we finally do. And we're praising ourselves for the inaction of our predecessors or us ourselves who served for a long time. I'm only saying, especially to those that have just joined us in this house, you have to be restless about the work that we do. And so the bombing sounds good. I used to try and spare my hands because I know that we come as we've come in here and we're laughing and we're talking about matters that, quite frankly, a lot of them are in train. The speech from the throne, I love the tone of it. I love the tone of it. It sounded, for those that were in the audience, yearning for change, yearning with hope that things will change, that a mother or a father could have their child have confidence in the Bahamas that they are willing to come back. Yes, the speech struck that chord. It gave the impression that something is likely to happen. But I guarantee you, this public is uneasy because they keep seeing the same play. People coming in all enthusiastic, new persons all idealistic, and they run into a political culture of inertia. We have an opportunity to do something different. And so I encourage those that have come in with fire in their belly not to get sidetracked. We used to sit over there. It was a lot of us. And there was a few over here. I want you to believe that unless you execute on behalf of the Bahamian people, the roles can in fact be reversed. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And so as I listened to the speech from the throne, a couple of things occurred to me. One, that most of what was criticized while you were in opposition, unfortunately, didn't appear as if there was a strong legislative agenda to reverse those issues. The vast majority, in fact, if I remember correctly, all of the pieces of legislation, it was only signaled that they would be amended. We had no details, obviously, it's a speech from the throne, so we have no way of knowing if fundamental changes are in fact going to occur. And so what is interesting is despite all of the criticism, the same agenda appears to be continuing. And one of the things that also interests me is I listen to the speeches. My good friend, the member for the Exumas and Ragged Island, I could on occasion replace him with Dionisio because the content of much of what was being said about the rebound of tourism, and you two look alike as well. And so so much of what was being said, Exuma, much of what was being said about the rebound in tourism is pretty much was forecasted by the outgoing minister, the Minister of Tourism. And so I want to say by way of you, Mr. Deputy, that it is important. It is important that we are careful when we are in opposition with the level of criticisms that we have. And then we come in and we are forced to read the speech prepared by the technical staff that's attributing success to the very same policies, legislation, and programs that were criticized. That's why I'm saying that we should be a little bit more balanced. No, because I think it's about integrity of speech, meaning we shouldn't be up in the business of seeking to raise the misery index. That everything is wrong in the country, we attribute it to the government that's in. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And so I believe that we missed an opportunity. We missed an opportunity. So consider this for a moment. In the ministry with responsibility for health, our administration left in place several pieces of legislation that are ready to go. I heard the discussion about the cannabis industry. It appears as if that the Progressive Liberal Party is going in the direction of recreational marijuana. But there's a bill that's completed on industrial hemp, a bill that is completed as it relates to medicinal. No, except that we're not you and I are twins on this matter, so I'm not worried about that part. All I'm saying is this: that you have several pieces of legislation that are completed, right? Just a compendium just in this area. One on industrial hemp, a second on medicinal marijuana, a third on really the restorative justice, where our intentions were in making those amendments was to wipe out thousands of young people's record on small quantities of marijuana. So we're happy that you're doing that because we need to do it, but the legislation is ready. Let's bring it. Let's make it happen. And then, of course, the fourth piece was, you know the answer, and the fourth piece was to ensure that we amend the Dangerous Drug Act in order to facilitate all those things. In the Ministry of Agriculture, there's a bill relative to BAMSI. So there's a series of pieces of legislation in immigration. There's another bill that is prepared that I'm pretty sure that the minister will go and look for it. And Minister, you had such a wonderful, consummate public servant in Quinton LaRoad. It was so unfortunate that the investigations were not done to appreciate that he is a gifted man who can be an asset to the country in the capacity that he was appointed previously. And unfortunately, it appears, I could be absolutely wrong, it appears that politics got involved and the young man had been moved. And so again, the point I'm making is that there are a number of pieces of legislation that are ready to go. So we're expecting that we're going to have, member for Western and Bimini, we're going to have a robust legislative agenda, without question. With respect to the property spoken of in 8 Mile Walk, it would be wonderful if in our next sitting that you're able to bring for us the details with respect to what the impasse was relative to that building. I'm advised, obviously it's not a ministry that I was in, that there may have been two owners of contracts for that building that were forced together in a relationship in order to complete a building, and they seem to have had an impasse. And that, no. You don't have to wait. Oh, you're able? No, but please, at Yale, please stop the clock. The chair.
That is not true. It had nothing to do with the contractors. It was a model that we followed with the Free National Movement when they built the St. Mary Patricia School. They had two contractors. They worked together. They got funding when it was required from the ministry. The problem in this case was the ministry did not fulfill its obligations as steadily as it was expected. That's what happened.
So they weren't.
That's what happened. No, there were no conflicts. There were two contractors. No conflict.
Money. It's money.
And so on next week when we debate the bill, in the event that that we're able to highlight what we discovered in our investigations, you're willing to maintain that position? Okay, good.
It's just so interesting, to raise that.
Yeah.
When 3 projects in West Grand Bahama and Bimini, none were completed. But none were completed. And why was that? Why was that? Only one project you completed in Grand Bahama, two led by the PLB.
I spoke of the one that I felt I had some familiarity with, and that you seem to have omitted just some salient points. That's the only point I was raising with respect to that. So, sorry? Who was that? I don't have a clue you're talking about, but Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, we have an opportunity over the course of the next few years to do some things for the people that we say we love. I want to leave with this House and with the public that I believe one pathway to getting there is for us to have mature discussions in this Parliament. That we ought to collaborate with each other on things that make sense for the Bahamian people. That we ought not demonize Bahamians. We ought not deprive members of the Free National Movement from eating and being employed in the public service under your watch. I'm simply indicating the kinds of things that I'm hoping for our people. And it is my hope that we would also find a pathway for collaborating on moving with urgency in addressing the matters that exist in Grand Bahama and Abaco without consistently making a determination on what the public has already made a determination on. They felt that someone else might manage the process faster. We are relying on you now to make determinations that are in the best interest of the Bahamian people. I want to say, as I close, that in Marco City, we will continue to work together, all Bahamians, to solve problems that exist. In our community, there are a number of persons whose electricity are off, persons who are challenged in terms of the food program. I would submit, Minister, that it's important for us not to have people on inordinately long lines lining up to get food vouchers. Distribute it to multiple centers who can, in fact, distribute vouchers. In Grand Bahama, we are fully expecting that every constituency office that serves all the people are a part of the distribution network. Yeah. We represent all the people. And you cut the legitimate representatives of the people, you cut them off at the knees when you do not include them. We will resist that. I know about that. Yes. And so we have a commitment that we'll be doing that.
To the member from Marco City, and you know, if you heard my initial statements when I became minister, I have a difficulty with long lines. I have a difficulty with long waits. You talk about people with electricity and seeking rental assistance. 6 months they have to wait in some circumstances. We're fixing that. We're fixing that because it is wrong. When people hurt, we're there for them. And every constituency, it doesn't matter which constituency it is, Marco City, Pine Ridge, West End, the same. We are going to use all distributing centers, and all people will be given assistance by this progressive Liberal Party government.
But I'm asking specifically, we're still on the exchange. I'm asking specifically, will we be a part of the distribution to the residents in the area that we are presently serving? That's what I'm asking. Correct.
They will be kept in, and we will keep them informed, and we will ask for their assistance in whatever we're doing in the constituency.
But I'm recommending to you a specific formula. The formula ought to be that every member of parliament inside this hall should have an opportunity to distribute vouchers to the residents in their area. If they're not interested, that's on them. But let me give a practical example. In the last cycle, some of the NGOs were in fact attempting to distribute items, and they didn't know who the residents were. The constituency office with the member of parliament had to go and assist them in terms of figuring out who they ought to distribute it to. And so we're expecting that we will be a part of the distribution. We are also expecting, I'll let you speak, that the roadworks that are being done, that you will also be involved in Freeport proper in making that happen. So are you going to say?
On that, in the previous administration, you were asking for something completely new, and I'm with you. We will do it differently. In West Grand Bahama, I know of people who didn't have anything and they were passed by, and they were told that because you don't support, and they did that. Now, I'm telling you, no, you're not. I'm telling you what happened. Because passed by those who had the vouchers to distribute, who represented the constituency of the former member. The point I'm making here is this. That is not the way this party operates. That is not the way we intend to operate. And if we have to call upon you, we will. There's no difficulty. It's your constituency. We're not going to do anything in the constituency without talking to members of parliament to ensure, because who are we catering? Who are we serving? The people. That's our responsibility. And we want to deliver to the people. And we will.
Why find that a bit...
The chair recognizes Angleston.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. See, I have the advantage of having been here, not newcomer, the new blood and all of that. Right here, with a constituency, and I know what I went through. But on the issue of food distribution and what you just suggested, my office, which is a constituency office, became de facto a distribution center for the bags. I never gave out one, because I don't really know if you should do that, but I never gave out one. We did that because they had to go into the Grove area with long lines, and we were able to assist about 100+ individuals who came seamlessly to collect. When it was found out in this parliament that that was happening, the member for Kalani knows, because I think he really didn't like it. It was immediately stopped. So you talking now with something even more radical, where you go take your voucher and you go give it to people. I allowed my premises to be used, and you stopped it, and you inconvenienced people for politics. So when you talk about all this politics talk and all that, and I know you well, Marco City, I'm talking generally about what has happened in this parliament. I know as a member of parliament, only 1 of 4, what I had to go through for basics. We have a basketball court that was slippery and people falling and breaking bones. And eventually the Minister of Works, to be fair to him, agreed. But I compared it to St. Barnabas. No, they didn't have that issue. They had a fantastic, beautiful park developed. And children in Engliston, little boys and girls, falling down and breaking their bones. The Over the Hill initiative was to pull back stench, be niggardly with the people of Engliston. So I just say to you that, and I want to agree, that what you're saying, you know, we'd have to think about it, but I know even for my premises being used, between the Kalani and the then Minister of Social Services, it was stopped.
We know it wasn't you.
Chair recognizes Honorable Member Marco City.
West End and Bimini, it is important that it's not seen that others, NGOs in the community that I represent and have a mandate from, are doing the job that we have been tasked in this House to do. And so I leave that with you. Again, as I close, I wish to thank the Governor General for delivering the speech from the throne, and to express our admiration for the work that he's done in this country. And I wish finally to thank Almighty God for giving us another opportunity to come here and do the people's business. It is my intention to be constructive in my engagement, but I also intend to fight on behalf of those persons in the event that they are disenfranchised. And so with those few words, I'd like to say, I love you, Marco City, and I will see you tomorrow for office hours.
That's many. The chair recognizes Exuma, the honorable member for Exuma and Ragged Island.
Mr. Deputy.
The member for Pine Ridge the former member for Pine Ridge had a good scriptural context for when the member for Kalani fled. I will not go there because, like the member for Marco City, I've long been an advocate for political maturity in this place. And this has been a magnificent debate, Mr. Deputy. This is what a new day looks like. And I'm delighted to have the opportunity to wrap up this debate, Mr. Speaker. And I won't be very long. But I once again would like to thank the Governor General for his excellent communication of the speech from the throne. I also want to thank my colleagues on the governing side for their informed, respectful, enthusiastic debate in this particular thanking of the Governor General for the speech from the throne. Magnificent contributions from the new and the veterans, Mr. Deputy. That's what a new day looks like. I also want to note for the record how proud we are of Prime Minister Davis and his performance at the UN's COP26 gathering this week. His speech was a powerhouse that caught the attention of world leaders. Yes. And that wasn't all. After such an incredible presentation, he was interviewed by every major news outlet in the United Kingdom. Just this morning, he was interviewed by Good Morning Britain, the most popular morning show in the UK. Bahamians today stand tall and so very proud. And I congratulate our Prime Minister on a magnificent job. That's what a new day looks like, Mr. Deputy. Yes. We promised we would learn from the mistakes of our predecessors. We committed to never go abroad and call the Bahamian people corrupt. No, sir. We said we would never talk down our economy. Yes. Yes. That's what a new day looks like, Mr. Deputy. And I have always been an advocate for political maturity. And I thank the member for Marco City who always offered consultation to the opposition. Different breed. And I want to tell you and say to the Bahamian people, as I've said before, if there are good initiatives like digitization, we're going to build on it. Yes. We got to learn the mistakes. And from the mistakes of our predecessors, we're not going to abandon good initiatives simply because they were put in place by the previous administration. We got a country to build, and this is serious business. That's what a new day looks like, Mr. Deputy. We're not like the other side. No. The member for Angliston talked about how there were no house repairs in Angliston. You come here talking about victimization. Oh my God. Your public events in Exuma planned with public funds, taxpayers' money. You don't invite the member of parliament. You come here talking about victimization. I know it wasn't you. I know it wasn't you. I know it wasn't you.
The chair recognizes the honorable member from Marco City.
I don't mean to interrupt you, member for Exuma and Ragged Island, but if you've had an experience in one case with a minister, you don't think it's appropriate that you put on the public record that you have had other ministers who have gone there and have extended courtesies and collaborated. And furthermore, that a substantial amount of funds were being spent to ensure that things go well in Exuma.
Didn't say you had a point of order.
No, that is the point of order.
I'm not sure what his point is. But he was the one who stood and talked about victimization, Mr. Speaker. It was him. And then, Mr. Speaker, we talked about collective responsibility of a cabinet earlier on. I wonder if they remember when their Attorney General bragged about how they were saving $75 million by laying off public servants. And the President Kingsley Ferguson went on record talking about the 2,500 people from the civil service, and it was concerning. Mr. Ferguson also called the Attorney General recent suggestion that these job cuts have saved $75 million hypocritical. The union leader questioned why these workers could not have been redeployed to understaffed areas of the civil service instead of the unemployment line. It goes on and on. We've been getting WhatsApp messages all afternoon about the indignity inflicted on the Bahamian people by the former administration. So don't talk about political maturity out of one side of your mouth and be disingenuous out of the other side. That's right. Madam Speaker, sorry, Mr. Deputy, I'm glad that all of my colleagues understand that this is serious business here.
The chair recognizes the honorable member from Marco City.
The information that you referred to, are you prepared to lay that so that we are able to examine it? Because it's really you reading out of your phone. I'm not familiar with it. None of my colleagues seem to be familiar with it. So please, are you prepared to lay the information on the table so that we are able to examine what source you're referring to?
How quickly do we forget, Mr. Deputy?
Let's not forget. If we knew, listen. No, don't abuse. No. Let's go. Forget what? Because we haven't forgotten. We're saying we don't know.
Deputy, I will lay it.
No.
Okay. The chair.
January 30th.
Mr. Chair.
January 30th, 2018, the Tribune.
Members,
I know what's happening.
Yeah. Members.
Do that for me. That's it. So do that for me.
And I lay it on
That's all I ask you for, Speaker.
Members.
No problem. We'll do that. This is serious business, Mr. Deputy. This is serious business. And I'm delighted that all of the colleagues on this side recognize that.
Yes, sir.
We speak to the future. We talk about our blueprint for change. That's what a new day looks like, Mr. Deputy. And we're not going to look in the rearview mirror, as the member for West Grand Bahama said. But let me be clear that we're not going to focus on their failings. We will learn from them.
Right. Yeah.
Gotta recover from them.
And to be clear without being petty, Mr. Deputy, their failings were many. They were roundly and soundly rejected by the Bahamian people.
Yes.
And we were asked by the majority of those who cast their ballots to not come here and waste time talking about the past, but to implement the blueprint for change.
Right.
And that's what this speech from the throne foreshadowed. Represents how we plan to bring change. As much as our friends in the opposition seek to defend their record, the fact of the matter is it cannot be easily defended. I listened to the various members of the opposition launch attacks on this administration, which has been in office for less than 2 months.
6 weeks.
2 months is too short a time for the Bahamian people to forget the neglect and the mismanagement of that administration. To remind them what they did, I will explain what we will not do. We will come to this place and spend month after month working for the Bahamian people, not making baseless accusations of corruption and malfeasance. We will learn from your mistakes. Where we find those things, we promise to deal with them. And there will be no political interference. That's what a new day looks like. We will not raise VAT by 60% and then claim we care. It was the F&M administration that increased VAT from 7.5% to 12%. A whopping 60%. How swiftly do we forget? And every single member who were here last time in this place or the other place voted for it. And speaker after speaker come and talk about it. I've been watching some videos and I even realized that some of them been crying crocodile tears.
Man,
and they come here today trying to score cheap political points.
Right.
I know there's a leadership race coming.
Yeah.
They got to fight for their votes.
I'm prepared.
We have a balanced strategy to lower the rate of VAT and close the ill-advised exemption while increasing assistance for the vulnerable. We are increasing assistance for the vulnerable, I say. Increasing the budget for social services. $500 lump sum for the unemployed. Seabreeze laid it out the other day. Increasing pensions for civil servant pensioners. Paying increments that haven't been paid in a long time. Increasing minimum wage after consultation with the tripartite council. That's what a new day looks like, Mr. Deputy. We're not like you see. And whilst the former Minister of Tourism was gracious in the transition, and I thank him, the member for Engliston won't like to hear that I've spent 3 hours with him in a transition meeting.
Oh, that's good for you.
But that's our friend as well.
Touche.
But we understand the seriousness of this work. We will never seek to denigrate the work of anyone because we recognize this is serious business. A rising tide will float all boats. That's what the Bahamian people want. We will not leave the victims. We will not leave the victims of Hurricane Dorian to fend for themselves.
What's up?
It broke my heart. The member for Central and South Abaco, my colleague from the Ministry of Tourism, so achingly outlined yesterday the neglect and the abandonment of the victims of Dorian. It was unconscionable.
Yes.
We will not pose for the cameras and act as if we care and then dither and do nothing while people suffer. We will learn from your mistakes. We will not use the pandemic to grab power and then play with people's emotions, their lives and their livelihood. We'll actually be guided by science. We will not undertake secret deals. We will not squander precious resources. We will not make bad and desperate deals like you hoisted on the people in Grand Bahama.
Yes.
We will never ever forget Oban.
Never.
It will frame your legacy as the poorest negotiators in the history of the modern Bahamas. We will make the hard choices, even when they are unpopular. We will not run from the media and act as if we answer to no one. Each of us in here, we recognize that we only here because of the good faith of our constituents. We must every day keep that foremost in our minds. Let me say that again another way. They sent us here to make their lives better, not to make ourselves look good and cover ourselves in glory. We are servants. We must not act as though we are the masters. We will learn from your mistakes. We were elected to do what the other side could not and would not do. And we hear speaker after speaker talk about woulda, coulda, shoulda. We didn't get 5 seats in Grand Bahama and 4 cabinet ministers, but we gonna fix it.
That's right.
We must work, and we will diligently seek to not follow your fate. As I said, we will not occupy the people's time with too much looking back. I see, Mr. Deputy, they have a leadership race coming up. I will stay out of it. But for the good of democracy, I hope they would reflect on why they are over there.
That's right.
And not over here. Mr. Deputy, though we have only had a short time here, you would have heard that we've hit the ground running. We're learning the lay of the land. We're fixing that which we found broken and guiding our country to a better future. This will not be easy.
Gratefully in education.
Our challenges are many, Madam Speaker. The economy is still in traction. Our healthcare plant is still in tatters. Too many are still unvaccinated. Our education system is crippled. Crime is still a concern. And we face an enormous immigration challenge. There are too many children without proper guidance, proper nutrition. There are many businesses that are still on life support. The cost and ease of doing business is still far too high. And the great level of economic inequality must be arrested and reversed. And though the pandemic is still with us, we all want life to return to normal. And that does not cover all of the issues. We do not pretend that we can fix all things in one 5-year term. And that's why we will endeavor to be re-elected at the end of this 5-year term. But we believe that we tackle the large issues with determination and through informed choices, then we can set the country on a different course. The speech from the throne is only a roadmap for setting us on that course. And we will seek to accomplish all of it. And we recognize that it's an aggressive task. It is a heavy task, but we have the tools, the talents, and the focus to make it happen. Yes. And I thank each of my colleagues for their contributions. I want to add that I was thoroughly impressed and encouraged by the insightful and strong presentation of my female colleagues. I hope that their representation encourages more girls and women in this society to enter frontline politics, to serve our nation, so that one day the makeup of this House will reflect the demographics of the outside place. I am heartened by the presentation of our new and younger members. Though new to this place, they have done their homework and have approached their assignments with the seriousness that I hope. And of course, our seasoned members who have served before and who serve for the first time, all of my colleagues, I'm thankful that such weighty portfolios have been placed in such competent hands. And I thank the member for West Grand Bahama. I want you to know that this is the most organized debate that I've ever seen in this House of Assembly since I got here. To the Bahamian people, I say, this road will not be easy. There will be bumps, there will be potholes and speed bumps, there will be obstacles. But please bear with us and partner with us on this journey. We want to hear from you. There are things that will escape us. We're not all-knowing. We're not omnipotent. So we want to hear from you. And let me say for all to hear that we have received feedback on the health services rules. We will consider all of the feedback we received, and we will make adjustments where warranted. Our aim is to listen. Our aim is to manage the pandemic, live with COVID as long as we must, and transition to a new normal. I promise the Bahamian people, we will not neglect you. We will not let you down. We know that you are our priority. So keep us in your prayers, as we will always keep you in ours. For it is only with God's help and enormous amounts of work that we will fully realize a new day. Madam Speaker, I commend you on your elevation to the role as Speaker. I thank you for managing this first debate graciously and with aplomb. I commend you. Yes. Mama never said it would be easy. But I know our Speaker has demonstrated and has laid the foundation of what a new day in this Parliament will look like. May God bless the people of Exuma. May God bless the Exuma Keys. May God bless the people of Ragged Island. May God bless the people who are unemployed in the island of Exuma, who at this hour are attending a career fair put on by my office. And I am here and not there because I understand my obligation to speak here on your behalf. There is no need for anyone in Exuma to be unemployed today. And we are matching the employers with the unemployed. Yes. And we will ensure that we create a better life for the people of Exuma and Ragged Island and the people across our country. Yes. Bahamians everywhere. I thank you, Madam Speaker. May God bless you.
The chair recognizes the honorable member from Marco City.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I wish to just direct the comments by way of you to the member for Exuma and Ragged Island. While the deputy was in the chair, Madam Speaker, a statement was made that some 2,500 persons were laid off. The Attorney General is reported, according to the member for Exuma and Ragged Island, to have stated in the Tribune that there was a savings of some $75,000. Madam Speaker, I'm advised, sorry? 25 million? Madam, that's even more ridiculous. Madam Speaker, the only matter that the AG, the former AG, would have commented on is the laying off of 3 consultants at a savings of under 100,000. So again, until you could produce that, I think that is not something that ought to be left on the record. If you're prepared, you want to lay the cell phone. If you don't want to lay the cell phone on the table, I'm saying you ought to withdraw it until you could bring the documentation. Sorry?
You're done, sir?
Yes.
Thank you,
Madam Speaker.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Exuma.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wrapped up the debate. I won't belabor the point. I undertake to lay on the table the Tribune article. The subject is termination of 2,500 from civil service, a breach of union agreement. It's as at Tuesday, January 30th, 2018. The author of the article is Morgan Adley. I undertake to lay it. I have no further comments on this debate, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you, honorable member. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those who are opposed will stand. The motion is carried. The resolution is agreed. Before I continue down the agenda, I would like to, I inadvertently placed 2 parliamentary secretaries on the Public Accounts Committee. The Public Accounts Committee, by its very nature, cannot have parliamentary secretaries as members. I wish to fix that problem immediately. I am therefore removing the members for South Beach and replacing him with the honorable member for Southern Shores. And I am also removing the member for Baines and Grantstown and replacing him with the honorable member for Centerville. Thank you, honorable members. Member statements.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Angliston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wanted to just say to the people of Angliston that I am so grateful to the Minister of Works, the member for Fort Charlotte, for his intervention without a second thought for the repair of the Angliston Park. As I've previously indicated, the surface was very slippery, and many young people were going on there and breaking bones on that park. And I spoke to him about it, and without hesitation, understanding the importance of that park to a inner-city community, he moved immediately. And I just want to say to them that very soon they're going to see a redeveloped, not just the court. The minister has advised that he is going to completely redevelop the Angliston Park, and I want to put on the record, I want to thank the member for Fort Charlotte, and I say that to the people of Angliston.
Thank you, honorable member. Instructions to select committees. Discharge of select committees. Notices for future meetings. The chair recognizes the honorable member for West Granbaham and Bimini.
I wish to, all matters in the name of the government. I wish to renew all matters in the name of the government.
Members, I didn't hear that one.
No. All matters in the name of the government. I wish to ensure that they remain on the agenda.
Thank you, honorable member. Adjournment.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the adjournment of this honorable House to November 10th at 10 a.m.
Is there a seconder? Thank you, honorable member. It has been moved and seconded that the House at its rising do adjourn to Wednesday 10th of November, 2021 at 10 a.m. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Final adjournment.
I now move for the adjournment of the House to November 10th at 10 a.m.
Is there a seconder? Second. Thank you, honorable members. It has been moved and seconded that the House do now adjourn. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Motion is carried. The House stands adjourned to Wednesday, 10th of November, 2021 at 10 a.m.
All rise.